Hello everybody and welcome to the 11th round of the 2004 AI F1 Challenge season. We are here at the Marlboro Magyar Nagydíj, also known as the Hungarian Grand Prix, here at the Hungaroring.
Not even 2 minutes in.
Not even 2 minutes in. At the Hungaroring in Budapest. I'm joined by Nils Hassel today.
Hello everyone.
This track is known for being quite difficult to make overtakes on, as it is, quite a tight and twisty circuit. 70 laps ahead of the drivers today, as well as, a 60-minute qualifying session, as per usual. Going into this race, Kimi Raikkonen still leads the championship by 2 points ahead of Kimi. What days? Not been a good start. It's not been a good start. Let me restart. No, all the way back there. Kimi Raikkonen leads the standings by 2 points with 8 rounds to go. He has still not won a race this season for the McLaren team, but he is still, with his consistent results, looking pretty strong. Fernando Alonso in third as well, with retirements from Jarno Trulli and Michael Schumacher greatly hindering their chances, as they now sit 14 and 15 points back from the championship lead respectively. David Coulthard as well, not scoring any points last time out, as Jacques Villeneuve completes the top 9. Further back, we've got Ralph Furman on, I believe, now hitting double digits for the season, as we now have 24 drivers scoring points so far this year, as Giancarlo Fisichella and Nicolas Manassian both each got their first points of the season. In the Constructors' Championship, a double podium finish, I think it was. Or was it? I can't actually remember. But it was a double. Both cars reached the higher echelons of the points at least, and as such, Renault lead the constructors by 7 ahead of McLaren. Ferrari in third right now, with that battle for 4 still brewing on between Williams, BAR and Toyota. Just 5 points separating those three, as Dams Lola sit in a comfortable 7th at the moment as they jumped ahead of Jaguar last race. Red Bull, Opel, Brabham and Honda each scoring points so far this year, but unlikely maybe to do so for the rest of the year. If any of those teams are likely to score points again, maybe the Red Bull, maybe the Opel again, with their good straight line speed. Maybe the tracks such as Spa and Monza could be their strength. But do you see a possible change in the constructors in the drivers' championship?
Really depends on if Kimi can keep up his pace currently, seeing as if he finishes in the top 5. Other than that, I feel like could be hard around here, seeing as the McLaren was a good car around the Hungaroring earlier in the practice sessions. Other than that, Pantano is probably the most likeliest to maybe get ahead of Kimi.
And a good segue there onto the practice times. Michael Schumacher topping the timing sheets, only just ahead of his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, so the McLaren is looking strong in practice, a lot better than the Ferraris, as Barrichello was a 10th.5 off in third, and Jarno Trulli all the way down in 6th place. Scott Dixon showing good pace once again in that BAR, as he once again outpaced his teammate David Coulthard by a couple tenths. Giorgio Pantano all the way down there in 10th place. He was a bit out of sorts throughout that session. We also saw Juan Pablo Montoya also out of the top 20, which was quite a shock to see, especially with Marc Genet putting on a fairly good show. He was up in 13th, so pretty good showing there from the Spaniard. Not so much for the Colombian, as there is the bottom 3. News out of practice though, Zsolt Baumgartner crashed towards the end of that session, and as such, Gary Brabham... oh my god. My god. Oh! Can I end the stream now? Can I end the stream? Please, let me end the stream. Please, let me end the stream. No! Oh, no! Oh, no! Dear me! Gary Paffett has been drafted in by McLaren to Minardi to replace Zsolt Baumgartner. Right, okay, I'm just going to shut up now. We're just going to get on with qualifiers. Oh my god. Welcome in, Horizon, Captain Rage, FF, Benny racing at home, Kyo Kiri. How are we all doing? Oh, I'm not doing so good, clearly. I was going to change some of the textures for the sponsor boards because this is a bit more of a modern version of the track, but yeah, I think the textures were a bit encrypted, so couldn't really change them, which is unfortunate. Which means that we have got Pirelli sponsorship everywhere, even though we're running Bridgestone and Michelin tyres. We've also got some 2012 pictures up there. Hello, Sampas. I hear you had a Gary incident. Oh dear. Yes, welcome in, Sampas. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Hope you feel better soon. Gary can be scary. He can indeed. Out of sorts completely today. I like how I was watching James' early stream earlier, and he said, someone in his comments section said, I hope, oh, the audio's, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, like I say, he said, hopefully Jaden doesn't bottle it today, and James went, well, he's doing his Hungarian Grand Prix today, so we shouldn't really have to, there we go. He shouldn't necessarily be bottling it, unless he somehow bottles his commentary. I have bottled the commentary already, and we've barely not even started qualifying. There's music on. Thank you.
Benny clearly didn't listen why there's an early 2010 store also on the screen.
Yeah, so this is the 2012 version of the track. And obviously, like I say, the textures are encrypted, so I couldn't really change them. Harrison cannot do anything that isn't bottling. That is very true, very true. So Kimi Raikkonen, the first one to be setting a lap time today, as he is making his way through the first couple of corners. 27.0 will be the benchmark for everyone to beat in the first sector. As I do like this version of the track, it is looks very smooth. It doesn't look like too plasticky like the other. Do you know what I mean with like the other modern iterations of the tracks? They look like very plasticky and very cell shaded. This one looks a lot better though, in my opinion, than those. David Coulthard not quite as fast as Kimi Raikkonen through the first sector. He's about 2/10 down through that bit of the lap. Kimi Raikkonen hitting the curb quite a bit there as now he heads into the final sector. Once again a 27.0 in the middle sector as now he makes his way round the final corner. Free Saka on good form as well. Thanks for saying. He is 9/10 off right now in the first sector. Yeah, so him and Ricardo Zonta had a brilliant time in qualifying in Austria and showed pretty good pace as well in the race. I believe, though, Zonta ended up fading away into 19th place and Free Saka with the first retirement of the season for Boots and Asiatech, which, you know, silver linings, I suppose, from qualifying. Not so good of a race. And hopefully we'll see maybe both of them on the grid once again today. Albeit it is a quite different characteristics in terms of a circuit, so who knows what we'll actually see. David Coulthard was 3/4 of a second away from Kimi Raikkonen. Patrick Friesaka, the best part of 5 seconds back with that first lap, so he'll need an improvement definitely to get himself into the top 26 already, I'd imagine. As Antonio Pizzonia, I don't know if he is on a lap.
He's on a lap.
He is on a lap.
He's
okay.
on a lap. He's also quite quicker than the Opel and Boutsen currently through the first and second sector.
He's looking quite comparative actually to David Coulthard through that first sector. Massa as well, showing pretty good pace through that first sector. Glock, a 10th lower than the Austrian. Meanwhile for Pizzonia, a 20.4. Not bad at all for the Mercedes-powered Brabham car. Of course, at the end of this season will be rebranding itself as the Austrian team powered by Lamborghini.
As we look at the Lamborghini Works team, that instance.
Yeah, Felipe Massa in the Red Bull. No seat confirmed for him just yet for 2005, but I imagine a number of teams will be talking about potentially acquiring his services for next season. Despite his inexperience, he goes third place, just under a second away from pole position. Let me get the news articles up for today, and we will begin with... there we go. So, new tracks announced to be on the calendar for 2005, as I will find where Fisichella is. There he is. Istanbul Park and Paul Ricard headline 2005 Formula 1 calendar changes. Formula 1's ever-evolving calendar is set for a significant shake-up in 2005, with two major venue announcements confirming both expansion and a nod to the sport's heritage. Turkey joins the Formula 1 map. The most eye-catching addition is the debut of the Turkish Grand Prix to be held at the brand new Istanbul Park. Located on the outskirts of Istanbul, the circuit is already generating excitement for its challenging flowing layout, expected to combine high-speed corners with technical sections that will test both driver skill and car balance. Early design details suggest a strong emphasis on elevation change and long sweeping turns, features that could quickly become a driver's favourite. The push for a race in Eastern Europe outside of the traditional former Soviet sphere has been a long-term goal for promoters. Construction began of Istanbul Park in 2003, and with progress on schedule, the venue is expected to be completed in early 2005, slotting into the European leg of the championship. Paul Ricard is also confirmed as the return of the French Grand Prix to the historic circuit, as Scott Dixon, surprisingly, to pole position. A great lap from him as the New Zealander up in first place by 0.5 of a second, surprisingly there ahead of the McLaren.
I didn't want to interrupt you when I saw the lap time from him.
Don't be afraid to, by the way, because yeah, I'm really looking. Manicourt is replaced as the host venue. The move marks the circuit's first appearance on the Formula 1 calendar since 1990. Known for its distinctive layout and advanced facilities, Paul Ricard has already introduced itself as to modern F1 machinery, having hosted pre-season testing earlier this year in its updated configuration. Its return is widely seen as a popular decision.
Barrichello going fast in the first sector.
He is indeed, so we'll get on board with him. He is there. 26.7 currently through the first sector. Paul Ricard has already reintroduced itself to modern F1 machinery, having hosted pre-season testing. It's widely seen as a popular decision, with many within the paddock welcoming a circuit that blends tradition and with modern safety and infrastructure. Well, yeah, we've seen that Manicourt has certainly been pulled apart in terms of its safety features. It was already cancelled once for the 2001 season for changes to its track layout. It was changed, but still does not suffice to the FIA standards, as Rubens Barrichello to pole position by a second there. So a brilliant lap from him, although that is very quickly looking like it's going to change, as Michael Schumacher 2/10 faster than him through the first sector. Mugello to also host pre-season testing. With Paul Ricard back on the race calendar, Mugello circuit will now take over as a primary venue for the pre-season testing of 2005. The Italian circuit, renowned for its flowing high-speed nature, is expected to provide teams with an ideal environment to evaluate performance and reliability ahead of the new campaign. So a lot of changes there for the teams and drivers to get used to. Of course, the brand new Istanbul Park, as well as the change in venue of the French Grand Prix. Would you say that it was it was time for Manicourt to leave? Do you think?
Definitely after the FIA made a bold decision to install a temporary chicane on the main straight heading into the Adelaide hairpin. The writing was on the wall after that Verts incident and the incidents beforehand in that hairpin. I don't think the move to Paul Ricard is a good move. Maybe they should have looked at a new circuit in France. Maybe looked at something with the French government to get a new track in order. But it might be an interesting race to come. time will tell.
Yeah, and of course, most tracks are normally not too favoured among fans, at least. They prefer the old classic tracks, but you never know. Well, Paul Ricard is an old classic track, but not in its current configuration, at least. We shall look at the upgrades, but first we'll talk about Michael Schumacher, who went to pole position in the the Works Mercedes car, and the custom Mercedes car of the Brabham in Nick Heidfeld goes across the line to go 5 seconds slower, so not a good banker lap from him per se, as David Coulthard looking to improve in a second lap. He was in the 26s there through the first sector, so pretty good there from the Scotsman. Obviously, another driver who has not announced his arrival at any team for the 2005 season. BAR seemingly searching for their options for next year, and as such, David Coulthard could be potentially up for grabs for some other teams. Not entirely sure who would want him at his current stage of his career, but he could be a good team leader that could develop a car pretty well. Giorgio Pantano, though, less than half a tenth down on Michael Schumacher through the first 2 sectors, so this is looking fairly strong for the Italian. Of course, he is second place in the championship right now, 2 points behind Kimi Raikkonen, 50 for Raikkonen, 48 for Giorgio Pantano, and Fernando Alonso a further 5 back from his teammate, so it's still all to play for with 8 rounds to go. Pantano then purple in the middle sector, purple in the final sector, but not purple overall.
Justin Wilson next up on his first flying lap of the session.
Where is he? There he is.
28th. There he is.
He might get held up a little bit here by David Coulthard.
Probably, but shouldn't be too much, seeing as the Scot will dive into the pits out of this corner. As Kimi Raikkonen's on his second flyer.
Justin Wilson then rounding the final corner to complete his first lap in the qualifying session. 22.6 for him, so he pretty much slots precisely in between Heidfeld and Friesacker with that lap. Hello, Auto Expert, welcome in.
I'll be right back.
Hello, Orange Lightning as well. Sorry for missing him. For your message there. Arrived to the stream just after Gary was mentioned. Oh dear. James's brakes have gone. Popular decision. I like the track at least. It's a pretty good track. Pretty cool looking one. Especially with the blue and the red stripes. Then Montoya comes out the pits and he will be gunning potentially for a top 5 in this qualifying session. Yeah, it's unlikely that they'll possibly... If... what's it called? If Paul Ricard doesn't work out, I'm not sure if France will be able to find a circuit that's currently in circulation, such as, like you say, Pau or Dijon. Those 2 tracks are, well, A, outdated, and B, a bit too small for modern day Formula 1 standards, both in terms of track size and in terms of hospitality, alright, facilities, yeah. Hello Gallifreyan, welcome in. Hope that your week has gone well. Ralf Schumacher coming out of the final corner now to complete his first lap in the qualifying session, and it is an 18.4. That puts him 6th place right now, 4 tenths ahead of Scott Dixon. Ricardo Zonta is also out there right now, as is Juan Pablo Montoya, so we'll watch on board with him for his lap. 3 teams target Hungary with diffuser upgrade packages. So those teams are BAR, Opel and Boots and Energy Racing. Diffuser downforce obviously helping with the rear end stability and aerodynamic grip and mechanical balance. It should help with the sequence of medium and slow speed corners where overtaking is pretty difficult. The rear downforce of course could help with the dirty air as well of being in the wake of other cars through corners. Should help possibly with overtaking as well. Circuit de la Sarthe is a bit long, so yeah, it'd probably be Le Mans Bugatti, and even then, it is a bit of a bland.
It is a touring car. It's a touring car track. No, nothing else.
Joycey as well, welcome in. Rubens Barrichello on his second lap, Montoya on his first, as he is half a second down through the first 2 sectors. So as it currently stands, he'll be probably around that Raikkonen conversation in terms of lap time with this first lap. As there you can see the sector splits. Michael Schumacher fastest through the first sector and proving to be the stronger out of the 2 overall between him and Giorgio Pantano, as despite the Italian setting the purple times through the second and third sector, he cannot go fastest. Montoya goes to 4th as he just goes under the 118 threshold. And a pretty good lap there from Rubens Barrichello. Purple final sector and is in just over half a tenth behind the leading pair of Michael Schumacher and Giorgio Pantano. The top 3 very closely packed right now as we switch our attention to Felipe Massa.
Barrichello usually goes well around the Hungaroring, seeing his result last season as well.
Yeah, it was one of his stronger races here in his final season at Renault. I believe just missing out, though, on the race win as he was out-strategized by Juan Pablo Montoya and ended up finishing second in that Grand Prix. Felipe Massa improving on his lap time to go ahead of Scott Dixon. Giancarlo Fisichella is 3 places back, but is improving by a second, so he could also be potentially matching the Brazilians' times so far. And despite the improvements of the Toyota in 2004 compared to 2003, it certainly seems that Fisichella has maybe lost a bit of his spark following his crash in the Japanese Grand Prix. Hopefully he can get back to full fighting fitness, or rather full fighting form. He goes 7th place right now, just ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Gary Paffett makes his debut today in a competitive session. He's done several practice sessions before for both McLaren and Minardi in the past, but this is the first time that he's taking part in a full-blown weekend after Zsolt Baumgartner's injury in practice. It's unlikely that Baumgartner will be back for the next race. It's looking like a longer-term injury, which could potentially ruin Minardi as a whole in terms of their financial status, especially as the main backers of Minardi, MOL Oil, are, well, a major sponsor of Zsolt Baumgartner as well. So if he leaves the team, then I'm sure that they could possibly leave as well as their main title sponsor, which brings them, obviously, the funds to go racing, which would be a bit of a shame to see Minardi go out even earlier than what we expected, than the end of the season, possibly mid-season, that they could be eliminated from contending in Formula 1 Grand Prix. But that is the ruthless nature that we find ourselves in 2004. Gary Paffett there went 6.5 seconds slower than the pole time. Pretty close actually to Timo Glock in terms of their first lap times of the session. So pretty good stead from him as he's 3 seconds ahead of Thiago Monteiro. Jenson Button across the line and he goes 12th fastest in the Jaguar, just ahead of Patrick Friesacker. Fernando Alonso is another driver who has been driving under the radar, I would say, because while he's not been putting in spectacular results overall, he's been showing consistency just like Raikkonen has been doing. 1 race win so far for Fernando Alonso this year, and across the line for Sperrifico. He replaces Button in that said 12th position. Oh, that was a spin there.
Oh.
Who was that? Is it Paffett?
Think.
Is he into the pits? Who was that? Was it Paffett? It looked like Paffett. I'm pretty sure Justin Wilson was on a lap.
Hansen.
Yeah, so Justin Wilson's
Nothing
gone for a
happened
bit of a dive there. And, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Paffett not really getting out the way there. Maybe a bit of an experience, of course. Wilson was on a lap there and may have been a bit frustrated with the Italians. Not with the Italians. I was looking at Giorgio Pantano on the timing sheet, who is just under a tenth faster than Michael Schumacher. So he could be potentially on course for pole position. Gary Paffett is indeed British. So Giorgio Pantano then rounding the final corner. And up towards the line. That's Giorgio Pantano to pole position. Not quite in the 1 minute 16s, but he is looking good as of right now. Nicholas Manassian is a man that's been struggling for form. He is stuck behind Sperifico, but I feel like he was not on a good lap to begin with in the first place. He's been struggling for form as of recently. Ralph Furman, of course, has been... Well, he's been getting the points rather than Manassian, even though Manassian was the faster driver at the earlier stage of the season. However, the tide seems to have shifted with all these retirements for the Frenchman. It seems that he's lost a bit of his confidence in the dams, which is a bit of a shame for him. But Ralph Furman is on excellent form right now, scoring 13 out of Dams' 14 points this season. Manassian currently sat in 11th place, which is 2 places higher than Justin Wilson. However, Fernando Alonso is going slightly faster than his teammate through the first 2 sectors, so we'll see how he can perform in the Renault.
In the final 2 corners. Up to the line goes the Spaniard. Just barely behind his teammate.
But the 2 Renaults looking strong there as the 2 of them locking out the front row as we have reached 1/3 time limit in this qualifying session. Antonio Pittonia out there once more in this session. I've gone past him somehow. There we go.
Doesn't look like a big improvement for the first sector. Be nice to know where the clock stands at in the second sector, but obviously we don't know it because there we go, down on his previous best time.
Pittonia has been a driver that has been pretty good compared to Nick Heidfeld in the recent races, I'd have to say. He's been out qualifying him more often than not, even though Nick Heidfeld is announced to be a Brabham driver for next season. Pittonia is not. And the Brazilian stays in 13th after not improving on his first lap. Cristiano De Mata is also another driver who will be potentially looking for, well, he is looking for a new seat in Formula 1, as Jaguar a couple of rounds ago announced the signing of Ralf Schumacher and Björn Verdheim as their race drivers for 2005 when they switch over to TWR Jaguar, so new branding for the team as well, as Tom Walkinshaw bought 60% of the Jaguar outfits earlier on this year. Cristiano De Mata to 12th place ahead of Nicholas Manassian.
Egg raises a good point there.
You could potentially do... you could potentially do Ricardo Zonta, Benny. Could be an option.
Does Zonta bring money though?
Brings backing from Mercedes or McLaren. Ish.
Probably, but not that much that Lola probably requires.
Yeah, true. Would probably be their performance driver more than a pay driver, to be fair.
Takagi could be a good option though.
Going to get your predictions in early. Michael Schumacher wins, McLaren botch Kimi's strategy, and Trulli DNF. Well, that would be perfect for the German in his championship. Of course, now 15 points away from the championship lead, currently held by his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Takuma Sato across the line, and he goes 19th place, holding up Felipe Massa a little bit, as now he barrels his way down towards turn 1. He's not improving at all. Schumacher not improving in either of the first 2 sectors. 26.6 and 26.3 will not do if he wants to topple either one of the Renaults on that front row of the grid. But he'll make his way through this final corner, and we'll see if he finds any improvement. He does actually. A purple final sector, and improves by just under 1/10 of a second. Not enough though to get ahead of either Alonso or Pantano. Montoya out there once again on circuit, as Felipe Massa not quite improving through the first sector, held up a little bit by Takuma Sato, but a good second and third sector could prove useful for him getting slightly closer to Ralf Schumacher. He's going to need a big chunk of improvement if he wants to get close enough to get ahead of Ralf Schumacher. He needs to find, what, 0.3 of a second? Currently about a tenth and a half down, so he needs to find about, 0.4 or something like that to get ahead of Ralf Schumacher, which is looking pretty difficult for him to do so as he now makes his way through the last corner as well.
Scott Dixon, in the meantime, also improving again on his first sector.
No, that's Coulthard. That's Dixon.
There's Dixon. So I think Sato's also now crossing the line soon.
I think he's already crossed the line, and I don't think he improved either. So not a good opening run for the Japanese driver. Scott Dixon, though, has been on fantastic form, outpacing David Coulthard in qualifying last time out in Austria and outracing him to a brilliant 9th place finish on his debut, and once again outpacing him in practice as well. So this has been a brilliant start to his BAR career for Scott Dixon. He's improved, and once again ahead of David Coulthard by 0.2 of a second to go to 7th place.
Yeah, Baumgartner's injured, that's why Paffett is in the car. On loan
so
for McLaren Mercedes.
Yeah, so in practice, Baumgartner had a brake failure in towards turn 1, had a side-on impact with the barrier and rolled over into the catch fence, and as such he has twisted his arm, which may sideline him for multiple races. Could be a big problem in terms of sponsorship, of course, MOL being the title sponsor and sponsor of Jolt Baumgartner in turn, as De La Rosa goes 12th. So maybe, not McLaren, Minardi could be looking for a potential long-term replacement for Jolt Baumgartner, alongside Thiago Montero, of course. The short nature of Gary Paffett obviously meant whoever was in the pit lane and available would probably be the best solution, and of course, since Gary Paffett has tested for Minardi previously in practice sessions this season, he was chosen. Montoya improved there to go, or stay in 5th place I should say, but he is a whopping 0.6 off the top 4 right now. Barrichello within 0.2 or just over 0.2 away from pole position as of right now. David Coulthard as well on another lap down in 8th position right now. So he needs to find about 0.2 of a second improvement if he wants to go ahead of his teammates. Sperrifico does indeed go to 11th as he goes less than a tenth behind Ralf Schumacher. We'll see though if the Scottish World Champion of 2000 can lift himself higher than his teammates. He cannot. He stays behind by a tenth and a half, and I've got to say, this is surprising, the form that David Coulthard has suddenly found himself in, completely dropped from the consistent point scorer that we have seen so far this season, and somehow looking potentially in the championship fight. Of course, Coulthard just 16 points away from the championship lead after 10 rounds, but, you know, no points in Austria, and well outside the top 10 as well by the checkered flag with Dixon up in 9th. Could this be a turning point for potentially David Coulthard, not only in his BAR stint, but potentially his Formula 1 career?
A chance, if he doesn't find his form soon. With seats also being quite rare at the moment. Only BAR really of the top teams have not announced their full lineup. As Prix gets a minor improvement on his previous lap time. Justin
Wilson improving by 0.5 through the first sector as well. He's currently on a 1 minute 20.3. That is just ahead of Jenson Button. He needs to find half a second if he wants to get ahead of Antonio Pizzoni. So quite a tall order here from the Briton as he now makes his way through the sweeping turns of the S's in the middle sector. Here at the Hungaroring, Ricciardo's on to finding 0.3 of a second improvement. He needs to find 7 or 8 tenths overall to get ahead of his teammate Patrick Friesacker, as once again those two look to both try and get themselves into qualifying here today, or rather into the race, I should say.
As it currently stands, we still are missing, well, 3 top drivers during the season with Trulli, Furman and Webber. Those 3 have not set a lap times, as well as Marc Gené and Benoit Trulli.
I was really confused then for a second who you considered to be a top driver, 3 out of 5. I was like, surely you're not talking about Marc Genet.
No, definitely not. Oh, Damala has a problem.
I'll see.
Oh,
Across the line, 17th for him, as Damata is in the pit lane. So we'll check what he's doing. Okay. What has happened to the Jaguar driver? It looks... Oh, it sounded like a pretty hefty crash for him. So I'm going to need my trusty penalty book out.
seems like through the tight and twisty bits that he had a problem.
It seems fine through there. Is it into this corner? Ah, it is. Brake failure.
Yeah. Oh, brake failure.
Ah, into the tyre barrier.
Hefty incident. Hopefully he's okay.
He should be okay from that sort of crash. Wasn't actually too high speed. We'll get it on board as well. Go back, 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 go back. I wish you could do the thing on R Factor where you could hold control and it fast forwards in. Yeah, shouldn't be an injury there for Cristiano Damata, but massively hinders his chances of a good qualifying performance. Of course, qualifying is a necessity around this circuit.
Combination. In the meantime, looks for an improvement. Currently the sole Lola with a lap time. So we now hit the 30-minute mark. Half the session is done already. Also, Kimi Raikkonen now is going to start his lap soon.
Manasian now rounding the final corner. He's in a lowly 15th right now and will need quite a healthy improvement to fetch him into the top 10. And he does find it. 17.7. Back on form once again. Maybe, perchance, for Manasian. 6.5 tenths away from pole position. Will certainly do him as he jumps ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. Nick Heidfeld, one of the slower drivers in qualifying right now. 5 seconds off the pace. And he's been struggling for form in the previous couple of rounds. Someone just got 70,000 peanuts on James's stream. My word. That's more than what I've got.
That's a good pay. I don't have like 5k.
I think I only have about 60k myself. Heidfeld then, I think, was up by about a second through the first 2 sectors. Let me know, by the way, guys. I am running a different stream quality. I'm running a lot higher of a bitrate in terms of the stream quality, so... if it looks better, if it's not lagging as much, or whatever, please do let me know, because I do want to improve the quality of the stream or viewing experience for all you guys as well. It's Heidfeld there, improving by about 2 seconds to go to 17th, about 2.5 tenths behind his teammate. Felipe Massa out there once again.
So Ralph Furman and Benoit Trulli finally go out on the circuit as well. Line goes to Spaniard, Brazilian, holy.
And this is actually Felipe Massa's last run in the qualifying session. This is lap 11 of his 12 laps, and over the curb, not a good exit out of turn 1, so already could potentially be down as he now heads through the first couple of corners. Barrichello finds no improvement. Raikkonen, though, looking to try and find his way at least ahead of Nicolas Manassi at an absolute minimum, as he's a second away from pole position right now. 4 tenths is what he needs to get into the top 5. And I've got to say, he might even struggle to do that. Around the final corner for Raikkonen. Across the line, it is only 6th. He's not as fast as Nicolas Manassian, and not a good lap there from the Finn at all, as he is down in 6th. He has completed 9 of his 12 qualifying laps, so he's got 1 run left to prove it. To prove himself as being in a good qualifying position, basically. I don't know what I'm saying. Felipe Massa is down by 1.5 through the first 2 sectors. Not quite improving through the first sector. We saw he had a bit of a slide through turn 1, improving through turn 2. Sector 2. Sector 2. Sector 2. And across the line. No improvement. Sato is improving through both of the first two sectors.
Not a good day for commentary today.
It's not a good day at all. Absolute shambles. More of a shambles than Super Wilson Nova in qualifying in Canada. And across the line for Takuma Sato, he goes alongside Felipe Massa on the 7th row. A 19.1 sees him half a second clear of De La Rosa ahead, behind, and 4/10 ahead of Felipe Massa. Okay, Rolf Furman is one of 3 drivers who has not set a time. Never mind, he's one of 3 drivers who... 2 drivers who is out on circuit right now and hasn't set a lap time, and is looking for his first run to be fairly competitive. His teammate Nicholas Manassian up in 5th place right now, so he's done a good job so far. And Furman across the line, an 18.1, decent banker lap, splits the 2 BARs. Benoit Trellier in the other Rose Toyota has been struggling a little bit in qualifying, has failed to qualify in Silverstone a couple of rounds ago. I think we also saw Trellier out last time out in Austria as well, as now the Rose Toyota makes its way round the final couple of corners. Oh, you heard about my blunder, did you, Apex? Welcome in, Casey. And Trellier goes only 25th fastest with that lap, 6 seconds off the pace, so not a good lap at all by Benoit Trellier. Felipe Massa, like I say, has completed all of his laps now, so he will start no higher than 14th. His teammate Mark Webber not been out there on circuit as of right now, and there is 25 minutes to go in the qualifying session.
As Fernando Alonso and Michael Schumacher are back out on circuit as well as Juan Pablo Montoya. Michael is not improving that much through the first sector, actually being 6/10 down, but there's a reason. Takuma Sato right in front of him.
Yeah, so it seems like this lap is going to be a bit of a write-off for Michael Schumacher, as he currently sits in 3rd place, less than a 10th away from pole position. And we'll see what Fernando Alonso is capable of doing in the Renault. Starting his lap now, he'll power his way down towards turn 1 and reach the top speed of 304 kilometers an hour before getting onto the brakes. A bit of the curb on the inside and then the outside of turn 1, a bit of a kink through turn 2, and then another long left-hander in the form of turn 3. A lot of cars, you have to get over to the left pretty early on, but in an F1 car with the extra downforce that it's got, you can pretty much take turn 3 as you want, as you'll be able to get over to turn 4 perfectly fine, and then the fast flick of turn 5 into the long right once again of turn 6, and then the chicane of 7 and 8. Slow speed, you need to get a good exit out of here, and then once again into the flick of 9, 10. This is where your tyres really start to overheat. Really don't start to like the pressures that they've been put through. 10 and 11 up next. End of sector 2. He's 300 up on Giorgio Pantano. Then into turn 12, a 90-degree right-hander, new for 2003. And then 2 long 180-degree corners. First the penultimate corner, then the final corner, which is a bit more open than the previous one. And out the final corner for the Spaniard of Fernando Alonso. And he'll make his way up to the line to take pole position by a 10th and a half, just over. So, yeah, 189 thousandths of a second he is on pole position by. Montoya was improving, but now he, as well as Michael Schumacher, have found themselves behind the Minardi of Thiago Monteiro, who is currently 10 seconds off the pace.
Also, finally out on circuit is Mark Webber. And that Red Bull Lamborghini. We're now across the line, does not find an improvement because of the lap traffic.
And of course, Minardi, even though they have seen Joel Baumgartner put on the sidelines, it is looking possibly rosy for them in the future. Of course, they're fetching their B-spec car for Belgium, which is the next round of this 2004 season. So who knows, maybe they could turn it around in terms of getting results, or maybe this is one last hurrah for the team. Thiago Monteiro, though, 3 seconds off through the first sector, is not how you want to be starting a lap, as we'll watch on board with Mark Webber.
I mean, I have to say, currently, at least if the three drivers that have not set a lap time somehow don't manage to set a lap time, Gary Paffett might go through, seeing as he's also kind of close to Timo Glock and Benoit Trulli.
Well, Mark Webber is currently on a lap. Genet also out there on circuit right now. So the last driver we expect to set a lap time this session is Jarno Trulli. And if he fails to qualify, then it'll be a big shock in terms of the championship picture. Of course, still in it by 14 points behind Kimi Raikkonen as it currently stands. As Mark Webber will be looking to get somewhere close to his teammate Felipe Massa. However, on this banker lap, he's already over 2 seconds slower than Fernando Alonso, so it's not looking likely that he will be at least ahead of his teammate on this run, but he's got plenty more laps to do as we head towards 20 minutes left in the session. The Australian then rounding the final corner, and we'll see what he's capable of doing in the Red Bull. It's 19th place, 1 place lower than this man right here, Pitsonia, who is also rounding the final corner, looking for an improvement, and gets it by a couple of thousandths of a second. So he stays in 18th as of right now. Gary Paffett's doing fairly good right now. He is ahead of Montero by the best part of a second. So,
and decently close to the rest of the grid as it currently stands.
Although
compared to previous Minardi drivers.
Yeah, you don't probably have to expect though that well, Trulli has actually done 2 laps already, so he's not having a good qualifying session at all, though Glock has only done 1 lap. I think Friesaka has done 2, but he is 3 seconds in front of the rest of, well, in front of the Minardis, as Button improves to go 5 tenths faster than his teammate and up to 16th position. Genet next one to cross the line in the Williams.
Who is 1.8 seconds down through the middle sector. Not a good lap once again from the Spaniard. How much more patience Frank Williams will have with him is quite a good question, as he only goes 19th overall.
Well, there were circling rumours that they were giving him until the summer break to sort his pace out. Of course, that being between the Belgian and Hungarian Grand Prix. So after this race weekend, there is a summer break. And within that window, there could be a driver swap down at Williams, with rumours of several drivers taking that second Williams seat, including former Williams champion Jacques Villeneuve, which I think, knowing his experience in these 2004 cars with Toyota after subbing in for Fisichella, will probably make the most sensible choice for the team, as well as he's been in good form for Toyota as well, or in that first part of the season. Could be a reason why Toyota actually lose to Williams by the end of the season in the constructors' standings. Gary Paffett's looking for an improvement on his lap, and does actually find it, and goes ahead of Timo Glock and Benoit Trulli with that lap. So a brilliant lap from him.
Only 5.7 seconds down. That's a brilliant effort from a Minardi. As also Antonio Pizzonia has finished all his laps, so he won't improve anymore.
Ralf Schumacher currently up in 12th place right now. He seems to be a lot more at home in qualifying in this Honda. Of course, he's hit a bit better form as of recently, scoring points in Great Britain, but since then has been fairly close to the top 10 in each and every single one of the races. Honda currently find themselves 12th place in the Constructors. It's a massive fallback from where they were even last season, where Heinz-Harald Frentzen kind of dug them out of trouble a little bit, scoring 15 out of their 16 points last year, including a podium at Imola. And across the line for Ralf Schumacher, the reigning world champion, still can't improve past 12th place. Genet is just doing a race run, it seems, and he's actually slower than Riccardo Zonta through that first sector.
Be interesting to see if he's slower as the Brazilian through the middle sector as well.
27.1 is what Ricardo Zonta has to beat through that first part of the lap. As once again, Michael Schumacher still looking strong through that first sector. On his first lap, no less, as well, a 26.5. No one's been able to get close to it, as Genet improves up to 17th. Zonta, though, in the Boutsen, will be looking to maybe jump ahead of Nick Heidfeld. His teammate Patrick Friesacker 5/10 further back, so we'll see how these two fare in the remainder of the qualifying session. Currently ahead of Paffett, Glock and Trillier and Montero. So as it currently stands, if Trulli finds out the problem of his car, then goes out there on circuit, sets a lap, then they'd actually both be through to qualifying.
Actually doing another lap on his race stint. Maybe he didn't get as much practice in during the practice session.
Another thing to bring up as well is that Michael Schumacher, for his incident with Jarno Trulli in the Austrian Grand Prix, he did previously get a 5-second time penalty for it, but it is now being converted to a 3-place grid penalty after he retired from that Grand Prix. So even if he does obviously set the fastest time in the qualifying session, he will be demoted down to 4th, which means as of right now, we would see Nicolas Menassian on the second row of the grid, which would be quite the sight to see.
Definitely. As Mark Genet finally gets back into the pits.
Glock out there on circuit. As is Benoit Trellier, who is up by, I think it said, 0.6 of a second through that first part of the lap. So Nick Heidfeld doesn't find any time, say is 22nd as of right now. Meanwhile, for Benoit Trellier, he's up by 1.6 seconds, so this is looking a lot stronger from the Rose car. Of course, as it currently stands, wouldn't put him ahead of Patrick Friesacker, as he is sat about 2.5 seconds up the road, so it could be fairly close between the Frenchman and the Austrian for that cut-off point. Trellier now making his way through the final corner and up towards the line for the Frenchman. It is enough, only just, to get ahead of Patrick Friesacker. The gap is 23 thousandths of a second that Patrick Friesacker has to find in his next lap. He's out there on circuit, but Timo Glock also out there improving, I would assume, through the second sector. Now he goes on this push lap.
Definitely, with Friesacker once again at the cutoff point now, after that high that both Bootsens had in last race, as Furman is also improving, only 1/10 down through the first sector on the provisional pole time of Fernando Alonso. Glock 2.2 seconds down on the fastest lap. Would probably see him around his teammate up to Jenson Button if he finds an improvement through the last sector as well.
Say be somewhere on the fringe of the top 20 as he now makes his way out the final corner, and Timo Glock finds a hefty improvement there to go only 23rd. Actually seems fairly close in that battle between 20th to 23rd place, as he sits now 3.4 seconds away from pole as of right now.
But in the meantime, Ralph Furman, I think, was being held up through the medal sector because he lost a lot of time through there. As I think, no, that's Rubens Barrichello, so the Ferrari of Jarno Trulli still hasn't been fired up.
Just 13 minutes to go then. We're well over 3/4 into this qualifying session, and we have not yet seen any showing of Jarno Trulli in this session. As it currently stands, we would see Patrick Friesacker for Boutsen Tech, the two Minardi Cosworths of Paffett and Montero, and the Ferrari of Jarno Trulli all knocked out here at the Hungaroring, which means that Benoit Trulli would only just make it through by 0.02 of a second. Benoit Trulli seemingly safe for now, as I think Friesacker's just completed a lap and not improved on his lap time.
Essentially, that with if Trulli doesn't go out on circuit, that would essentially ruin his championship aspirations even further. And any aspirations Ferrari has in the Constructors' Championship, as Mark Webber goes 15th overall, only around 2 seconds down on the provisional pole time of Fernando Alonso. Michael Schumacher is finding an improvement for the first sector.
The two Red Bulls looking fairly comparative right now in the middle of the pack, as Massa 2/10 ahead of his teammates and 1 place ahead. Meanwhile, like Nils said, improving on his previous best lap, but not on his previous best first sector. So we'll see if Schumacher can hook up this second and third sector to be good enough overall to take the fight to the Renaults. He's down though through the first 2 sectors overall, but we'll see if he can pull something out the back through these last 2 corners. 5-time world champion, of course. Go on, sorry.
I think he's still up through on his previous lap time, but it'll be interesting to see if he finds something through the last sector. He does not. Is down on his best time, as Giorgio Pantano was also being held up there by Scott Dixon. Meantime, I think Rubens Barrichello is now finishing up his probably last lap of this session.
Frisak is out the qualifying session as he's completed all of his laps and stays in 27th. So, unfortunately for him, he is knocked out here in the bottom 4 and he will take no further part in this race weekend. Fernando Alonso, though, will be looking to extend his pole position gap at the front. Currently, the best part of 2/10 ahead of his teammates as of right now. We'll watch him on this qualifying lap with just over 10 minutes to go. Jarno Trulli out there, pit exit. I think we both realised it at the same time there. Alonso then starting his lap.
Then a foreground, you can see the Ferrari coming out of that pit exit.
Alonso
Pantano
pretty
does
steady
not
there.
improve.
Alonso pretty steady there through the first sector, and he's looking good in this first part of the lap at least. Jenson Button also improving through that first part of the lap, as I think Pedro de la Rosa also held up a little bit, and as I thought he might have been doing, improving through that first sector. So Fernando Alonso on for a good lap as of right now, 27 thousandths ahead of his previous best as he now makes his way through this this middle sector chicane. What's the law behind Rose Motorsport? Yeah, that's a fictional team based in Indianapolis. We've also got other fictional teams such as Bootson Energy Racing, driven by Frisak and Zonta, Opel, driven by Glock and De La Rosa, Brabham as Pitsonia and Heidfeld, run by a German consortium, as well as Dams Lola Panels, which is what would you say? It's not predecessor, that's the one before. I can't remember. Alonso doesn't find the time. A successor, there we go. A successor to Jordan, as they bought them out in late 2001.
Jarno Trulli is now on his first flyer.
See if the Italian can muster anything up on this first run. This could be his only run in the qualifying session, as he's left himself with barely any time to set a good lap, of course. He may be able to get another run if he goes in and straight back out of the pits.
Or does what Mark Jenny did and do race stints.
That would be another method, as he was 700ths down through the first sector on Fernando Alonso, so could be possibly pressuring for pole position. His teammates done with qualifying. Trulli, though, half a second away from the top spot, so this could not be a potential pole lap, I would imagine, unless he finds something utterly otherworldly out of this final sector, which I don't think he'll be capable of doing. Ran in the final corner, though, for the Italian.
Would see him only beat Nicola Minacion at the moment, being behind his teammate as well, and actually is behind the Panos, or Dams Lola Panos. Just barely, but still only 6th fastest overall at the moment.
Yeah, not a good lap there at all from Jarno Trulli. Has often been seen as the man to beat in qualifying this season in that Ferrari. It's just that his race pace has let him down a little bit. Nicolas Minassian is finding time, though, through the first sector. He's catching up to a bit of traffic. Wonder if it's going to hold him up too much to find an improvement on this lap. It may be the case, as there is a Brabham and a BAR directly in front. Trellier finds time to try and extend his gap ahead of the bottom 3, but it is not enough to get him out ahead of his teammate Justin Wilson, who is 4/10 further up the road. And Manassian, of course, not finding an improvement on that lap. Timo Glock also not with a good lap so far in this session, as he's only down in 24th place as of right now, and would be probably one of his lower qualifying positions so far this season. Ralph Furman, though, is improving. He's in 10th place right now. This could be possibly for the first time in about 3 races that we see Manassian actually out-qualify Ralph Furman, which would be a pleasant sight for the Frenchman.
Or maybe not, as Furman is improving by 4 tenths on his current best time. Would see him close to his teammate. Maybe in all damn slow lap panels 3rd row at the moment.
Of course, got to keep in mind that Michael Schumacher grid penalty, and Furman goes 5th, would right now be 4th place on the grid as he moves a 10.5 ahead of his teammate. So the two dams are currently outpacing the man who has been otherworldly to beat in qualifying this season. Heidfeld finding improvement through the middle sector, but may have been held up by the dams through the last couple of corners. And across the line, yeah, no improvement there. For Heidfeld, stays in 23rd. His teammate Pitsonia has finished with qualifying, as Riccardo Sperafico looking to potentially topple his teammate once again in qualifying. He needs to find a 10th of a second on this lap to go ahead and beat his teammate here today. Does not do so and stays in 14th.
Multiple drivers have finished their qualifying program already. Rubens Barrichello being one of them. So currently stands, we won't see a Ferrari on pole position.
As Justin Wilson not finding time on his lap. Mark Webber also down through the first 2 sectors by a 10th of a second. Scott Dixon, though, is improving and once again will out-qualify his teammate David Coulthard, as Coulthard will start no higher than 11th in this race. Dixon currently in the top 10, so once again a brilliant session from the New Zealander as he looks to assert himself into the world of Formula 1, try and advertise himself to potential other teams for 2005, as Webber stays in 16th. We'll see what Dixon is capable of doing. He needs to find 2.5 tenths to jump ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya, currently sat in 9th place. And I think if he finds that time, then he could potentially be challenging Jarno Trulli. Does not find an improvement, though, and stays in 10th.
I think he was held up by Nick Heidfeld, who was heading to the pit lane as well. But still a strong showing by the New Zealander rookie.
This may be now a fight between the two Renaults for pole position, as the two are both out there on circuit. Pantano, almost equal with his previous best, is slightly up on Alonso's best through that first sector as well, with a 26.6 for the Italian.
Needs to nail second sector. That tight and twisty bit, reminiscent of Monaco. And we're being called the Monaco without the barriers, essentially.
And will Pantano be able to take top spot here in qualifying? He needs to find a 16.885 to go to pole position. And will the Italian be able to find it? Is improved through the second sector. Not quite enough to knock Alonso off his perch, as Alonso just on pole position by a 1/4 tenth of a second. It's now the Spaniard's time to try and set in an even better pole lap here, as Jarno Trulli out there on circuit. Wasn't expecting him to be out there so quickly, but Trulli currently down in 7th, could once again be a potential shoe-in for pole position, unless Alonso can put his pole position out of reach for the Italian, of course. 11 thousandths up through that first sector on his previous best lap, but not overall in his first sector times of this qualifying session. With just less than 3 minutes to go, this will probably be his last lap in the qualifying session, and with the middle sector essentially all to himself, he's looking to try and push that gap even further out to his teammate Giorgio Pantano after he failed to take pole position for himself. and is 100th down through the second sector. So this could be a small improvement, if any, for Fernando Alonso, as he now rounds the final couple of corners. And we'll see what Alonso is capable of doing into the final corner now. And this long right-hander feels like an age on a qualifying lap. Boots the power out the final corner and up towards the line. It's 5 thousandths slower, so now it's all down to Jarno Trulli to try and take pole position for himself. He's got a 17.7 right now, 9 tenths away from pole position, but can he find that 9 tenths from his banker lap that he set about 10 minutes ago? We'll wait and see. In this first sector, not entirely sure what he has set.
All we know is that Giorgio Pantano is faster than Fernando Alonso through the first sector.
He's improving, but not quite enough to be on the pace of the Renaults. He's about half a tenth away in the first sector. So we'll see if Trulli can find any extra time through the second and third sectors to try and get ahead of them. 2 tenths down through the first 2 sectors. It's looking good for both Alonso and Pantano to make it a Renault front row lockout. But can Trulli pull something out of the bag here as he now enters the final sector? 1 minute remaining on the clock here, and Jarno Trulli completing his last qualifying lap of the session, and out the final corner he's got a 16.8 to beat, and across the line for Jarno Trulli it's a 17.3, only good enough for 5th position. Lost a lot of time in there, that last sector, and like Neil said, has qualified behind his teammate, so disappointing there from the Italian.
I think that's one of the first times that actually happened.
I would say so,
this
yeah.
season. Because usually he starts on pole position or, well, on the second row. Actually, I will look into that if Barrichello has qualified him this season already. And I think he has not.
Ralph Furman is now starting his lap with 10 seconds to go, so the only potential driver that could could take pole position away from the other drivers could be Ralph Furman or Nicholas Manassian, as Mark Webber's run into trouble. Gearbox problems for him. And Manassian now up towards the line. Not enough to go ahead of his teammate. Let's see what Ralph Furman can do on his final lap.
Would need to find a mighty lap out of his damn slower. Would be nice to see if he's actually improving or not, but we are seeing Giancarlo Fisichella compared to Ralf Schumacher.
Of course, the mighty battle for 12th place in qualifying is gone the way of the Italian, but he is ever so slightly improving through the first 2 sectors. Glock doing the same thing as now he makes his way through the final couple of corners. We'll stay on board though with the Irishman to see what he is capable of doing. Glock no higher than 24th. What about Ralph Furman? He's unlikely to take pole position today, but he needs to find 2.5 tenths if he wants to start on the front 2 rows. Of course, Schumacher with the grid penalty, but up towards the line. For Furman, it's an improvement, but not enough to go ahead of the Ferrari. So it is Fernando Alonso on pole position for today's Hungarian Grand Prix, ahead of Giorgio Pantano. So it's a front row lockout for the Renaults. It's a second row for Ferrari as Barrichello qualifies 3rd, ahead of Trulli. Furman in 5th. Then it's Schumacher down in 6th following his 3-place grid penalty. Manassian therefore makes it a McLaren sandwich with some Dam's bread. Raikkonen, the championship leader, very anonymous in qualifying, out-qualified by both Dams and down in 8th place. Montoya and Dixon complete the top 10, with Coulthard in 11th, out-qualified by his rookie teammate once more. Fisichella in 12th, Schumacher, Ralph in 13th, with Sperifico, Massa, Webber, Sato, Button, Genet and De La Rosa completing the top 20. Then we have D'Amata in 21st, Pitsonia, Heidfeld, the 2 Brabhams, Glock, Zonta making it onto the grid ahead of Justin Wilson. That means the 4 knocked out Benoit Trellier, Patrick Friesacker and the 2 Minardis of Gary Paffett and Tiago Montero. I've got to say, good session there from Paffett, but of course, very little he could have done in the machinery that he was given. But alas, Alonso on pole and Renault looking strong in qualifying. Join us in a few moments. We'll be back for the Grand Prix. Okie doke, we are back for 70 laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it has been raining, but it's currently dry. Intermediates all round currently for each team and driver. No one knocked out due to scrutineering either.
It'll be interesting to see if some teams maybe gamble on soft tires.
Yeah, we'll be starting this Grand Prix in about 5 minutes' time. So if you want to, and you haven't already, be sure to grab a drink and a snack.
As Montoya goes out on inters, Michael is going out on softs.
He is indeed. So a change in the strategy there. I think someone else has gone out on circuit as well. On dries? Who is it?
No, I think everybody else is on inters.
Ralph Schumacher's on inters.
Ralph on it.
Furman's on dries. Ooh, split strategy here then.
Split. Oh, who gets it right?
I'd assume the dry runners, unless they know something that we don't. Not entirely sure.
Who knows? It is projected to be dry during the whole race, so I don't know.
So, if you're excited about the 2004 season and how it's going to shape out, as well as any other series that I do, be sure to like the stream and subscribe, as we're going to be getting this race underway very shortly, and I'll be also back to get a drink.
Yeah, so you're stuck with me now. As I think nobody else is currently going out on circuit. No, never mind. Justin Wilson is going out on circuit on the soft tire as well. One of the backmarkers gambling on a possible good position of the start lights. I'm not excited about it. On soft, on soft. Yeah. So the track conditions currently and the projected conditions are dry as you load in, but the track surface is still wet. So some teams gamble on intermediate, some go onto the soft tire, while the dry tire already. So it'll be interesting to see who gets it right. Probably the dry runners, and maybe save one pit stop with it. And here we have around 2.5 minutes left until the pit lane closes, so any changes made to the tire choice have to be done at that point, as somebody in the background completely overshoots the last corner and goes into the wall for a bit. Hugo didn't play it up in time for the start. That's good. That's actually good. What are the eats? What is eats?
We are so back.
Go on.
Okay.
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
sure.
I know. Yeah, that's the problem with 26 cars. I know that problem.
The car shouldn't be damaged for the start of the race, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
We will have to wait for everyone
still. Probably the Renaults once again going out last and getting on the grid last.
Yeah.
Roast lamb with potatoes and homemade. Oh, that's a scran and a half. What the hell?
Damn, we've got the roast dinner right now. Crazy. I got Skittles.
Jesus. Oh, consider. You should have put him on the soft tires. That's not his responsibility. Well, it is, but also yours. Lol.
I think Thierry Boutsen's now returning to the minibar. Is he down the pit lane?
He is. No wine after this qualifying session. And
no, just flat out bitter. That's all he's drinking. Yeah.
Straight from the bottle as well.
Straight from the barrel, straight from the keg.
That's so goofy. Good thing that gets sorted out for the start again.
Yeah. Hello there. Welcome to Cristiano de Massa.
Terry Wootson has to watch the race there for no alcohol. That's a big lie.
Just want to check.
And guess what? Of course we are waiting for the Renaults again. Traditions.
So we've got all the cars lined up properly on the grid, I promise. I think there's also no track intro here, so we'll be going straight into it for 70 laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm going to do that because I'm pretty sure there's no starting thing as well.
Hello there. Welcome to Hungary. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Fernando Alonso first. Giorgio Pantano second. Barrichello third. Jarno Trulli fourth. Ralph Furman fifth. Michael Schumacher sixth.
Nicolas Menassiron
Seventh. Kimi Raikkonen eighth. The Williams driver was decidedly average in qualifying and will have to work extra hard to make the most of his midfield position. He starts ninth.
Scott Dixon.
10th. David Coulthard, 11th. Giancarlo Fisichella, 12th. Ralph Schumacher, 13th.
Riccardo Sparaffico
14th. Felipe Massa, 15th. Mark Webber, 16th. Sato, 17th. Jenson Button, 18th. Genet was way off the pace of his teammate. He starts in 19th. De La Rosa, 20th. Cristiano D'Amata, 21st. Antonio Pizzonia, 22nd. Heidfeld, 23rd. T. Motlo, 24th.
And with Zonta and Wilson on the back row of the grid, it is time to go racing here at the Hungaroring. Just 8 rounds to go for the championship, and it's anyone's guess as to who will take it. The lights are green, not for Pantano. There's no racing to be seen for him, as I think everyone's going to get away well as they now make their way towards turn 1. It's easy sailing for Fernando Alonso as he cruises into the lead in towards turn 1. But there's contact there between the two Ferraris. Trulli on the softs, Rubens Barrichello on the intermediates, and Barrichello just about staying ahead of his teammate for now. So it's Alonso ahead of Barrichello, Trulli, Furman, Schumacher, Menassian, Dixon and Raikkonen. Scott Dixon's had a fantastic start to this race as he's
really
up now
good
into
one.
the points.
As I think at the current stage the intermediates might still have a slight advantage offline, but on the racing line the soft or the dry tires themselves will have the advantage over the intermediate runners. But Alonso's already 1 second ahead of Rubens Barrichello heading into the second sector bit.
This could prove crucial already in the start of the race. If Barrichello's holding up his teammate, this would not only create friction between the teammates, but could also prove decisive in terms of the championship further on, as Barrichello's blocking his teammate in towards the third to last corner on this lap. Ralph Furman's not close enough to make a move, but the two Ferraris battling pretty hard over second position.
Ferrari, or at least, oh god, that could have been an incident and a half, but at every team essentially where an inter-runner is currently on track, you should have to consider already pitting to change to the dry tires, as Trulli now gets past his teammate. In the background, I think Michael also tried to make a move on Ralph Furman, but to no avail.
Very sketchy move there from Jarno Trulli in towards turn 1. He's very displeased over the radio about Rubens Barrichello. He's already lost 3 seconds to the race leader, but Trulli now up into second. Very close quarters indeed between the two Ferraris, as now Ralph Furman is in the Brazilian sights in his rearview mirrors.
Ralph Furman goes for a dive bomb there, but not close enough, as I think David Coulthard is battling along with Giancarlo Fisichella for the top 10 positions. But Trulli's already reeling in Alonso again, and Barrichello's just further dropping back.
Seems that Trulli's driving with a bit of a vengeance right now, looking to use that anger to push him further forward as Furman goes wide through the second sector. Could that open the door to Michael Schumacher? He looks towards the outside as Furman blocks the in, and Furman holds on to that place for now. It seems like a lot of these drivers want to get these moves done earlier on, with the intermediates drivers seemingly holding up the dry tyres as it currently stands, saying that the likes of Nicolas Minassian staying with Rubens Barrichello, who is currently in third. Trulli then with the fastest lap, 19.6.
I feel like Barrichello is struggling more than Nicolas Minassian currently on the intermediates now. Barrichello gets the call to stop as Ralph Furman goes up into the podium paying positions, up to third. The Irish driver goes. Michael looks for a move as well and gets it done easily.
So Michael Schumacher now up into fourth place, making sure that Ralph Furman does not run away for him. And Nils?
As Alonso has been reeled in by Jarno Trulli, only 9/10 of a second now. Actually 8/10. Ferrari proving quite quick currently.
Yeah, it seems that the intermediate's probably the wrong choice to make at the start of this race. It's very quickly dried up, with a lot of these drivers pushing very hard, even in these slippery conditions. Either way, though, for Jarno Trulli, he's on fire right now, and he's closing in to the back of Fernando Alonso at a rate of knots. Furman the same, with Michael Schumacher directly behind him, the 5-time world champion, going for a move, making contact there with Ralph Furman. Hopefully there's no damage done to his car, as Trulli consistently now putting on the pressure on Fernando Alonso. Will he be able to make this move in towards turn 1, or will he be too far back?
The Ferrari has more straight line speed compared to the Renault, so could be a possibility down the inside here. Slight contact. No.
Scott Dixon. And with a lot of these intermediate runners now pitting, it means that we're going to see quite a number of the...
also into the points because of that, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of these drivers are going to be slightly out of position, including this battle between Pitsonia and Glock. Through goes Jenson Button. No, that's Cristiano Damata, sorry. Up into 11th
position.
Button's also gotten past Timo Glock, so the place that the Germans tried to gain 1 place, he's ended up losing 2 to both the Jaguars.
But Button has to pit soon. He's on the intermediate, the wrong tire, but currently Pedro de la Rosa with a brilliant start with the soft tires compared to everybody else. Could be actually looking for another position at the cost of Mark Webber's 7th place, soon to be 6th.
Yeah, Montoya and Button yet to stop on the intermediate tyres. I imagine that the Colombian would be in fairly soon, as I think his rear wing's also damaged, so he might have been involved in a collision at some point. But De La Rosa forcing Webber wide there into the last sector as Button's out the race. Suspension failure has seen the first retirement of this Grand Prix on lap 4. He was on the intermediates on the wrong strategy, and it was unlikely that he was going to recover from that sort of blunder in terms of tyre strategy, and unfortunately his race ends extremely early. Here goes De La Rosa though on the inside of Mark Webber, the Australian almost unable to stop the straight line speed prowess of the Opel, and there goes De La Rosa now into 7th position in this race. Felipe Massa also looks towards the inside. There's contact between the 2 Red Bulls, and Webber's been speared up into the barriers. Dear me, the 2 Red Bulls have come together, and Mark Webber somehow has not lost his front wing through that, but there's going to be massive words on the pit wall. Peter Sauber must be telling Felipe Massa to calm down. He might be getting a penalty for that one, the Brazilian, as now Cristiano Damata all over the back of Mark Webber for 10th place in this race.
Also, I have to correct you on Jenson Button being the first retirement. Giorgio Pantano being was the first one.
We'll say the first mechanical retirement.
Montoya still out currently, but I think he got the call to come into the pits now. As I think Jarno Trulli might look for a move soon on Fernando Alonso. As it currently stands that Alonso would make massive inroads on the championship lead, with Kimi Raikkonen down in 17th and his teammate Giorgio Pantano out of the race already.
Montoya then the last driver to switch from the intermediate tyres. An 8.7 second stop is going to drop him well down the order.
With one Williams dropping out the points, another gets elevated. Marc Genet with a good start up into 8th.
We'll actually take a look at the positions gained and lost. Pedro de la Rosa, the highest gained on the grid. 14 places he has made up in these first 5 laps. And he's now into 6th position. Scott Dixon also looking to try and get his first points of the season. As Marc Genet looking to try and secure solidity on his Williams seat. He needs a good result here today if he wants to hold on to it for the remainder of the season. But as it currently stands, I think it's going to be unlikely that Genet even keeps this seat because he's kind of not really there on pace after starting down in 19th for the Grand Prix.
Down the inside, maybe this time will work for Jarno Trulli. Not close enough. In the meantime, Ralph Furman is still under pressure by the 5-time world champion Michael Schumacher. But the Irish driver doing a decent job on the defensive against the McLaren of Michael Schumacher.
Felipe Massa sticking with Pedro de la Rosa, as it seems Mark Webber could possibly have a problem with his car as he's dropped a long way behind his teammates and such. Yeah, he's over.
I would suspect that his front aerodynamics are heavily compromised now by the incident he had with his teammate, seeing
Most
as he has a
definitely, yeah.
massive dent on the front nose cone.
And now he's under pressure from Cristiano De Mata for 10th place in this race. I got confused because Schumacher came up. Obviously it was Ralf Schumacher, and then the glitch of 18th place also says Schumacher before saying it, so confused there. Anyway, yeah, like you said, Marc Genet is in the points, but Jarno Trulli has been behind Fernando Alonso for a number of laps. And will this be the moment where he gets through? He's been closer than he has been the previous couple of laps. Makes contact with Fernando Alonso, which nearly spins the Spaniard around. But it's not enough to stop the Renault staying in the lead of this race. Or will it? Up the inside in towards turn 3. Contact again. Trulli's got that inside line. He's going to switch towards the inside for Fernando Alonso. But it's not enough to stop Trulli from taking the lead here at the Hungaroring. Trulli on lap 8 taking the lead ahead of Fernando Alonso. Tries he might, the young Spaniard, but he will not be able to retain that place of the race lead. Furman currently in 3rd place, about 6 seconds further back. Michael Schumacher in 4th. Scott Dixon now under pressure from Pedro de la Rosa behind. I think a bit of collision between the New Zealander and the Spaniard, but the Opel absolutely on fire. He's looking towards the outside of turn 5. That would be very brave if he could make that move. Not quite capable of doing so as Dixon fends him off.
Good action currently compared to the last time around in Austria, where we had no real overtakes compared to the opening 8 laps already in this one. Also, as it currently stands, Fernando Alonso will take the championship lead of Kimi Raikkonen with, I think it would be 52 points for the Spaniard. De La Rosa now looks well moved down the inside here, side by side. Got Dixon on the outside shoves of the Spaniard.
Schumacher incapable of getting past Ralph Furman for 3rd place as of right now. Pedro de la Rosa, though, looking for any way through on Scott Dixon, and this might be the chance he needs. Down this main straight, the straight line speed of the Opel, easily taking him through and up into 5th position. The Spaniard absolutely on fire, and as it currently stands, would be on course for his equal best race of the season.
You rarely see somebody just being out straight line speeds on a straight, but with the Opel, it usually is a matter of time if somebody gets past. As Alonso's already 2 seconds nearly behind Jarno Trulli at the front. In the meantime, Michael Schumacher without an actual answer to Ralph Furman.
Manassian also buried in traffic as he tries to get past Justin Wilson in the battle for 13th place in this race. Rubens Barrichello down the order as well. 15th for him, 16th for Raikkonen, 17th for Fisichella, 19th for Montoya, 20th for Coulthard. So a lot of big names down the order today after their
Alonso
pretty
lost a
poor
lot
strategy.
of time.
I think he might have been held up by a bit of traffic. I think Ricardo Zonta's just been lapped for the first time in this race. As Michael Schumacher's gotten past Ralph Furman, as I think Furman's off the track.
Spun round.
What's happened to Ralph Furman? He's off in the grass down into turn 2.
I think there was contact.
We're going to look at that one. What has just happened between Schumacher and Ralph Furman? Schumacher up into 3rd, but this could be another race possibly for Schumacher in which he has made a collision with another driver that has caused him to spin round. Let's have a look then in towards turn 1.
From way down up to the inside, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just spun him round.
No way Furman could have seen the McLaren in his rear mirror there. And just Furman trying to get back onto the circuit, having now lost around 7 seconds compared to Michael Schumacher, who probably will get a penalty by the FIA for that one.
He will indeed. A 5-second time penalty for Michael Schumacher. Possibly aggrieved would be Ralph Furman, as he's now 7 seconds behind the German, but yeah, it's mainly down to the actual incident that it's reported on rather than the time lost from it. And so as such, Michael Schumacher, after his penalty, would still remain in 3rd.
But could hinder his further progress into the race, with maybe Trulli on a free stop strategy, seeing how he sets the early pace. As Felipe Massa now puts the pressure on Scott Dixon. Maybe the New Zealander heavy on fuel compared to the Lamborghini. Well, the Red Bull-backed Lamborghini.
Oh, and that's Massa round. Too much on the curb there for Felipe Massa, and he goes spinning ground in the battle for P6 with Scott Dixon. He's now going to fall under pressure from Marc Genet, but now that's both Red Bulls spinning ground. Mark Webber, a bit of a innocent bystander in his incident, but Felipe Massa causing chaos, and we're only 11 laps in.
That is not really a sentence that you hear usually, that somebody's under pressure or gets into the grabs of Marc Genet. But also on the topic which is brewing in chat, with the penalty not being that harsh, it is usually measured on the incident itself, not on the time lost, so it makes sense that it is only a 5-second time penalty, even though it seems unfair compared to Ralph Furman.
So Felipe Massa now about 4 seconds behind Scott Dixon, as he currently will try and reclaim that gap to 6th position in this race. The BAR team have been struggling for points in recent rounds, although Scott Dixon will be on course for his points, first points of the season, albeit Coulthard in 20th place. So he's got his work cut out for him if he wants to finish in the top 8 today.
Definitely. But maybe the drivers who pitted early for this dry tires have fueled up to a level that they can go further into the race compared to other teams, as there's a massive train behind Antonio Pizzoni as Justin Wilson spins on the back of the Brabham. Drops down to 17th overall, as Ralf Schumacher now looks for a move as well to relinquish the young British driver of that position, and now drops to 18th overall.
So the Rose Toyota there losing 5 places. Manassian now up into 13th. Raikkonen and Barrichello also up a single place, as now the Rose Toyota looking towards the inside of the Honda powered car of Ralf Schumacher and makes easy work of him, outbraking him as well in towards turn 1. Manassian, though, ahead of Antonio Pizzoni. The roadblock has been cleared by the Frenchman and will now go chasing after Timo Glock for 11th.
Trulli is getting closer to this train behind Pizzoni already through the first 2 corners.
Cristiano D'Amata keeping Mark Webber honest. Michael Schumacher now with the fastest lap of the race, as he's now pulled out an extensive gap ahead of Ralph Furman and is quickly closing in the gap now to Fernando Alonso. 5 seconds now the gap between the two.
Now Rubens Barrichello has to deal with his compatriot. And a feisty Kimi Raikkonen behind as Rubens Barrichello does a block pass, or tries to do a block pass there. No can do.
Manassian jumped Barrichello through the pit stops. He must have done, yeah, of course. So, yeah. Didn't actually see that one, so 10th, thank you. So Zonta at the back of the field. Heidfeld also lapped in this race. Next one for Jarno Trulli to get past is Takuma Sato.
The Rose cars are definitely not Minardi level slow. They are usually qualifying.
Yeah, Minardi's in its whole different postcode to the rest of the field, so...
Minardi struggles against GP2 cars. That's how far down they are.
Who's leading the train? It's Antonio Pizzonia currently, Benny.
Michael Schumacher sets another fastest lap now, free of the damn slowdown of Ralph Furman.
And once again, Felipe Massa on the back of Scott Dixon. He made this move before and failed to do so. Nearly spins round again as he now finds himself on the back of the BAR. And maybe this time he could probably try and power his way through down in towards turn 1. We've seen a lot of overtakes down at turn 1 already in this race. And this is shaping up to be another one for Felipe Massa.
Lamborghini has a strong engine also. Could help against Scott Dixon. Dives down the inside. We have seen contact there before, but Massa keeps it clean.
A little bit indecisive it looked like between staying in and getting out of the slipstream there for Felipe Massa, and as such he's been unable to get past Scott Dixon in towards turn 2 and consequentially in towards turn 3 as well. So Felipe Massa still in 7th place for now, as the other Red Bull under pressure still from Cristiano D'Amata behind. Manassian has now caught up to the back of Timo Glock for 11th. The two Opels having a brilliant race so far in 5th and 11th place respectively.
As at the front, actually, a story is brewing with Michael Schumacher only 2 seconds, about 2 seconds behind Fernando Alonso. So maybe McLaren could threaten the Renault after all, but has to keep in mind his 5-second time penalty. Massa once again looks for that move and spins nearly around again. Sometimes you would think that the Brazilian has to learn at one point.
Clearly not, as he's now done it 3 times in this race. And all this battle in between Dixon and Massa is fetching Marc Genet into the fray as well in the Williams. We'll see now if Felipe Massa can get this move done. Pedro de la Rosa soon to box, so he could be on a 3-stop strategy today. Up the inside this time for Felipe Massa, a lot further alongside from before, but he's taken too much curb there. Lost a bit of his grip on the rear of the car. Towards the inside of turn 3 maybe. This is where him and Mark Webber made a collision earlier on in the race, but this is also where Massa gets past Scott Dixon, and Massa now up into 6th position in this Grand Prix.
As Michael Schumacher is now under 1 second behind Fernando Alonso, so potential battle for P2. So Alonso clearly is struggling in the early going of this race. Or maybe Alonso just on a heavier fuel load compared to the other cars around him. Pedro de la Rosa is the first well-scheduled pit stop of this race. Could help him. And probably staying inside the top 8, maybe top 9.
I think it would be crucial, though, that it's not too bad of a stop to the point where he's under pressure from Antonio Pizzonia on pit exit, as now Pedro de la Rosa in for the first scheduled stop of the Grand Prix. How nice for the Ferrari pit crew to serve the Opel team.
8-second stop, could have been quicker, but would be crucial if he comes out before those 2 cars pass.
He's coming out in 10th place ahead of his teammate Timo Glock. So the 2 Opels now line astern in 10th and 11th with Manassian further back. And I've just realised, even though the pace advantage that Manassian has over these two in front, it's the Opals,
Can't
the
get
two
past.
Opals that he's got in front of him. And this is probably
Yeah,
going to
he
be
can't get
a bit
past.
of a nightmare now for Nicholas Manassian to be capable of getting through. Michael Schumacher soon to box at the within the next couple of laps, as he's now on the back of Fernando Alonso for second.
That's the confirmation that I had in mind, with Michael also being on the free stop strategy. So maybe the free stop is more suitable around the Hungaroring, seeing how the tire temperatures usually are quite high. Maybe also would be suitable for this man right here, seeing as he's stuck in traffic behind Juan Pablo Montoya and company.
Yeah, this could be actually a good strategy for Michael Schumacher, pitting right before he reaches the absolute mile-long freight train that's currently being piloted by Antonio Pizzonia. Rather than getting stuck in with this, he's going to stay behind and actually get past Fernando Alonso, as Riccardo Sperrafico sending Fernando Alonso wide into the last sector. Schumacher up into second, but albeit for a couple of corners.
Alonso also nearly hitting the wall, trying to navigate past the Brazilian there. Could have ended in a heavy shunt for the Spaniard. It's now
Massa's
Once again,
rejoined
we-
down in 12th.
It's now into the pits goes the 5-time world champion. Should be a quick one to get him back out ahead of... Well, he should be clear of Scott Dixon without any troubles, but will be close probably with Ralph Furman. Never mind, there goes the damn Lola. So once again, Michael has to navigate past Ralph Furman.
So
Depending on
Schumacher
how
out
long-
in a comfortable 4th, ahead of Scott Dixon.
Depending how long Ralph Furman could go into this race, he might have an outside shot at the podium.
Well, the two people that he is fighting for that said podium in this race, Jarno Trulli and Michael Schumacher, have more often than not been retiring from races, as Jarno Trulli called into the pits at the end of this lap. Probably a good solution,
Smart
as he's
strategy.
really struggling to get through this lap traffic. Justin Wilson kind of making his life a bit of a pain right now, as Cristiano D'Amato boxes from the points. That puts De La Rosa back up into 8th place following his first pit
I feel
stop.
like Justin Wilson is not even the biggest problem. This is probably the leader of this train, Antonio Pizzonia.
And who knows, maybe Barrichello will crash into his teammate once again, as he was in that
now-
train as well.
Fernando Alonso once again retakes the lead, but it will be interesting if Jarno Trulli re-emerges ahead of Michael Schumacher. With a 9.0 second stop. Maybe could be close actually with Ralph Furman at the pack exit. The inside.
Trulli there, somewhere
And I
on the
think
inside.
Ralph Furman makes the move. Tries to keep the position for Furman on the inside. And gets the jump over the Ferrari.
The warm tyres certainly playing a part there for Ralph Furman to jump up into second place before his pit stop. Jarno Trulli now will have to get through on the Irishman. This could play into the hands of Michael Schumacher, who will be closing in that gap all the more that Jarno Trulli is stuck behind this Dams Lola.
Would maybe look at the Ferrari pit wall and think they should have probably gotten Trulli in at least one lap earlier, seeing how he struggled with the traffic there. Same probably now for the Renault boys with Fernando Alonso, but I feel like Alonso is heavy on fuel, so his strategy is pretty much up in the air. Furman now has to defend from Jarno Trulli.
On lap 20 then, Fernando Alonso leads this race by 14 seconds ahead of Ralph Furman. Jarno Trulli in third place could potentially make a move here on the Irishman for second position, looking towards the inside of turn 1, but will not have any fruit bearing on getting up into second position. Michael Schumacher in fourth, Dixon in fifth, with Genet, Webber and De La Rosa currently completing the points. If you've just joined us and you're wondering what on earth is this order, we had half of the grid starting on the intermediates, half of the grid starting on dryers, as it was partially wet at the start of this race. That's why there's a bit of spray They're coming off Timo Glock's cars, who tries to go for a move on Pedro de la Rosa. He's down in 9th with Manassin completing the top 10. Massa in 11th with Pitsonia holding up a train. Starting from 12th place, the Brazilian, ahead of Barrichello, Raikkonen, Fisichella, Wilson, Montoya, Schumacher Ralph, David Coulthard, Cristiano de Mata, Sato and Sperafico are currently in that train. Heidfeld and Zonta tailing off at the back of the field with 2 retirements so far. Button with a suspension failure a couple of laps in, and Pantano stalling on the grid from 2nd place on the grid.
As I think Dams Lola are already in the pits, that will probably be for Ralph Furman. And it is. So Ralph Furman now sets those 2 free. Michael now having a look down the inside, but not close enough.
And just like how we saw in Austria last time out, we see Michael Schumacher and Trulli doing combat for the upper threshold of podium positions. So we'll have to see if either one of them will come out on top once again, or if both of them will essentially cause each other's retirements. Timo Glock also a bit impatient behind his teammate Pedro de la Rosa, and of course with the straight line speed advantage that we've got on Nicolas Manassin, they're able to hold him back even when they are battling. So this is pretty terrible stuff if you're a fan of the Damslo Lopano's team in terms of Nicolas Manassin's point of view, but at least for Ralph Furman, he's on course to be scoring some points in this race, a top 4 on the cards.
There could be a savior just ahead with Ricardo Sonta just emerging in front of him, so maybe he could nip past both of their low Opels if they get held up by the Boots and Energy car, but never mind. I feel like Manassin is the one being held up actually. As you know, he's under threat by Felipe Massa and that Red Bull.
Wilson's made a move there on Giancarlo Fisichella in towards turn 1. The customer Toyota team has gotten past the main outfit and is now up into 15th position.
Alonso now slowly carves his way through the traffic, but has lost 10 seconds because of this.
So this long first stint for Fernando Alonso proving to be not the strategy to be on, possibly, as this group that he's found himself in has cost him a lot of time, as I think he's been in this train now for about 5 or 6 laps trying to get through them all. Rubens Barrichello still trying to get through on Pitsonia, and in turn Fernando Alonso just still getting held up.
So Alonso now gets past Rubens Barrichello. In the background, I think Fisichella made a move again on Justin Wilson successfully.
So Fisichella now back into 15th.
Barrichello now hopes that Alonso somehow passes Pitsonia so he can pass, but Pitsonia makes it smart through the final corner. And somewhat has still the upper hand on the Brazilian, or his compatriot. Nothing of any sorts of overtakes behind the Brabham Mercedes. In the meantime, Trulli and Michael will probably come close to this battle as well now. They are.
What should Pitsonia get a penalty for? He's not done anything wrong. He's just driving, you know?
He's normally driving. He's in a battle with cars behind him who pitted, and he hasn't yet.
Of the people that held up Fernando Alonso, I think Pitsonia would be the last one to get a penalty, because he actually let him through within about half a lap.
So now Michael and Trulli are separated by 1 car in this traffic. In the background you can nearly see, I think that was Sato going into the wall, or coming close to the wall. Now Trulli looks around the outside of Cristiano da Mata, as Timo Glock has gotten past his teammate Pedro de la Rosa into the first corner, so maybe some strategic switch between both Opels, seeing as Glock is probably lighter on fuel than Pedro de la Rosa.
We'll see how Timo Glock can respond to the fresh air that he's now been given by his teammate. And if Pedro de la Rosa is capable of holding back Nicolas Minassian behind. Of course, there is a solid chance here of an Opel scoring points. I doubt it's going to be both of them, but maybe one of them at least could potentially score points in this race as Trulli laps Michael Schumacher's brother Ralph, the reigning world champion, not having the best of times here as he is down in 19th place, his teammate 2 places further back. So overall for Honda, pretty shocking performance.
And back to the usual essentially for them. Seeing as they struggled heavily in the earlier parts of the season. Now David Coulthard holding up Jarno Trulli through the S's. Could allow Michael maybe a chance. Never mind, Michael thinks better of it. Trulli goes down the inside of the BAR Audi.
Oh,
As
and
I think
Schumacher's
Ralph
just been...
actually made a move.
Yeah, I think Schumacher has just been collected there by his brother there through turn 13, I think that is. But Schumacher just about staying in front. Trulli, though, making quick work of the rest of the field as now he moves ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya down the start-finish straight. Schumacher does the same on David Coulthard, but once again there's now a car split in the two.
But I feel like Jarno Trulli is approaching the one car that he probably wishes not to be close to. That being his teammate, who earlier in this race had some, or tried to make the race difficult for the lead driver. Sperfico has now a problem with his suspension.
And that's the third retirement of this race.
2.
It is indeed, and that's the second suspension failure that we have seen this race after Jenson Button. And the third retirement overall. Sperfico now out of this race, and the only Toyota remaining in the race is 15th place man Giancarlo Fisichella. Maybe we could see some switching here potentially for McLaren, as Kimi Raikkonen just in front of Jarno Trulli now, as he now makes his way past said Giancarlo Fisichella, the sole remaining Toyota. Never mind, he doesn't even make it through. So this could be strategic from McLaren. If they get Kimi Raikkonen to play his cards right, he could potentially hold Trulli up in a way and let Schumacher through for second, which could prove crucial.
Same thing could happen with the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello, so it's pretty much an even playing field for both teams. Bigger question mark is Antonio Pizzonia and how he lets them pass. Raikkonen is quite easily letting Trulli pass, so no strategic blocking there by McLaren. Feel like Raikkonen is actually holding up his teammate more. As Justin Wilson is now stuck in 4th gear, which will split the trains apart essentially.
So the only Toyota that managed to qualify in this race will fail to reach the checkered flag as a retirement on lap 26. Stuck in 5th gear for Justin Wilson means that he's going to retire from this one. Rubens Barrichello now getting lapped by his teammate and blocks Michael Schumacher very aggressively, makes contact with him.
But Michael gets past. Now Pizzonia tries to let Trulli through. Trulli a bit undecisive there. Now actually allows Michael to maybe have a launch down the inside on Jarno Trulli.
The only Rose Toyota, I suppose to say. Anyway, Schumacher up the inside of Trulli, can't quite make his way through. And now these two...
Pizzonia now has been passed by Barrichello and Raikkonen, and finally those two get past him.
The deadlock has finally been breached. Pizzonia has finally fallen down places. And Barrichello now up into 12th position. But the gap to Massa in front is 22 seconds. A whole pit stop in front, dear me.
Is Opel prepared to service Timo Glock for, I think, the first time in this race as well?
And I've got to say, Timo Glock did not put up as good of an impression as I thought he would have done for how much he was harassing the back of his teammate there. He's not really been able to push away from the Spaniard. As Glock into the pits.
As Mark Jenner is also scheduled to stop at the end of this lap. Good,
Nice of the
good
BAR.
showing by the Spaniard.
Nice of the BAR crew to service the other Opel.
9.5 seconds, that's definitely a 2-stop.
Yeah, fairly lengthy stop there for Timo Glock, and he's going to rejoin directly in the path of Jarno Trulli and Michael Schumacher. Not quite the Italian, but definitely the German, as now he makes his way out of turns 1 and 2. And up the inside there for Michael Schumacher. A bit of time lost, but shouldn't lose the sight of Jarno Trulli in front.
So now Mark Jenny is heading into the pits. Well, is about to head into the pits. Actually having come pretty close to Scott Dixon over the last few laps.
Yeah, we were talking earlier actually about how Felipe Massa and Scott Dixon battling was allowing Genet to catch up. And maybe Dixon was just on a heavier fuel load compared to the rest of them. And certainly proving to be the case as Genet into the box on lap 28. Dixon, yet to see a pit stop out of him though. Webber's going to move up into 6th place as a result. De La Rosa up into the points, potentially, as well as Manassian and Massa.
An 8.0 stop for Mark Jenny. Good stop by the Williams crew. Edges him out.
As Manassian's just got past Pedro de la Rosa in towards turn 1. So the Opel now overtaken. Yeah, I think Manassian's experience there of driving, well, rather doing races, more races than Pedro de la Rosa in general, because a lot of races that de la Rosa has done in the past has either been right at the back of the field, in uncompetitive and unreliable machinery, retiring from races or just failing to qualify. Meanwhile, Manassian has really seen it all as Pitsoni is falling down the order big time. I don't know what's just happened. He's carried on, but we will have a look at that in a moment. Pitsoni now down to 20th place, so what was looking like a promising race for Brabham seems to be a bit of a throwaway as he now laps Ricardo Zonta, who is in turn having a fairly poor race as well.
I feel like maybe one of the drivers had enough of Pitsonia's antics in front of him. Maybe Giancarlo Fisichella looking down the inside in turn 1 and spinning the Brazilian round. The dark load of the train has fallen, yeah. Down the inside, yeah. The move never on, and then spins him around. Actually losing more time than he actually gained from that move. So now Sonia's right at the end of this train.
Fisichella there taking one for the team, and will take a further one for the team with a 5-second time penalty for that collision.
Will be interesting to see if the train gets completely away from Antonio Pizzonia, as now Rubens Barrichello looks for a move down the inside of Timo Glock.
We've seen Barrichello battle with Opels in the past, but not with Kimi Raikkonen also in his sights.
As Jarno Trulli now sets another fastest lap of this race.
Will Barrichello be able to do something to the straight line speed of the Opel? It doesn't seem so. Look at that gap that Timo Glock is pulling out on Rubens Barrichello.
Ferrari can match them.
Barrichello unable to mount a challenge on Timo Glock.
As we go further into the race distance, I feel like Alonso is on a one-stop strategy. Compared to Michael, definitely, who is on a free stop.
Yeah, I've got to say, there's been a fantastic race for Scott Dixon. Up in 5th place right now, as we're nearing half race distance.
Good chance, actually, on getting pretty decent points for BAR Audi once again. Now, Barrichello once again maybe looks down the inside here. That's probably the only chance he has, as he's getting close through the twisty bits. But I feel like Raikkonen is actually more on the prowl against the Brazilian. Contact, because Barrichello is quite aggressive on his defensive there. Yeah, 2004 within the straight line was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, the real life 2004 F2004 wasn't the best in the straight line as well, but anywho.
We'll see if Raikkonen can make any challenge on Rubens Barrichello. If Barrichello in turn will go defensive, as he knows that he can't get past Timo Glock, which is a sentence I did not expect to say today.
I mean, I expect that in Monza, where the...
Oh, Sato's off.
Sato has a problem.
Sato's off down at turn 1. And he is out of the race. Yes, it's a brake failure. So the same place in which Zsolt Baumgartner crashed with the same sort of issue, a brake failure, is also the site of a first Honda retirement of the Grand Prix. Let's see what happened then, as he was challenging Cristiano De Mata here for 18th position. Yeah, and the brakes just go there on the exit of the corner, kind of feathering them through, and then they just failed on him. He parks off to the side of the road, and his race comes to an end on lap 31, the 5th retirement of this Grand Prix.
All retirements down to mechanical failures. So, Hungaroring taking a lot of names with mechanical failures, as now Trulli and Michael get past Marc Genet in their quest to maybe close the gap to Fernando Alonso before their second pit stops. Now we can even see the Lamborghini, one of the best engines, not holding up against the Opel. Good advertisement for the road campaign.
That's it now, guys. If you want to buy an extremely nice sports car that's very fast in a straight line, don't buy something like a Lamborghini Huracan. No, you buy yourself an Opel Vectra.
Definitely. And for the British counterpart, buy a Vauxhall Vectra, I think.
Yep. It's not a warp drive in the Opel. It could be. Could be. Who knows what black magic that they are that they're concocting in the Opel factory.
Reported to stream for promotion.
Opel Severa.
As we have a new master of the train, Timo Glock is now holding up everybody. Now Montoya, Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella have closed up to the Opel. As Barrichello once again looks down the inside, but not close enough for a move.
Jarno Trulli there with the fastest lap as Barrichello once again fails to get through on Timo Glock. Manassian in turn is struggling to get past Mark Webber as his teammate Felipe Massa is struggling to get past Pedro de la Rosa. So it seems that a lot of straight line speed merchants are at the heads of a lot of trains today.
As currently the message came up that Jarno Trulli is pitting soon at the end of this lap, so Michael goes one lap probably longer than Jarno Trulli, complete counterpart to the first round of stops. I think Scott Dixon is now scheduled to do his first one of this race as well.
And of course, if Jarno Trulli is the first one to box between him and Michael Schumacher, this could open the opportunity for Schumacher to be capable of getting an overcut complete on him. But Schumacher is into the box as well, so this could be a pit stop battle between Ferrari and McLaren for second position in this race.
And I feel like the last time we had a pit stop battle between those two crews, McLaren came out on top for that one.
Here we go then on the back end of lap 33. We're seeing the second pit stops concocted by McLaren and Ferrari. Let's see who comes out on top in this one then. Ferrari with the slight advantage with Trulli into the pits first, but a good stop here from the McLaren crew could prove crucial. 8.6 to 9 seconds for McLaren means that the Ferrari will remain ahead in towards the first corner. So Trulli out in second, Michael Schumacher out in third as Ralf Ömer now rounds the final corner.
crucially, they came out before the train of clock down to 17th or 18th actually. So no lapping for them.
I think there would have been some Vietnam-style flashbacks each there for Schumacher and Trulli if they had to overtake some of those guys, as Fisichella has gotten past Ralf Schumacher.
As interestingly enough, Fernando Alonso has lapped up to P5 already. So, dominant performance crucially for the Spaniard, who's looking to take the championship lead. Still yet to pit in this one. Same with Mark Webber, who in turn has made a good recovery after his earlier spin at the hands of his teammate.
Antonio Pizzoni is also a driver who has not yet stopped in this Grand Prix, was holding off pretty much everyone.
Looks for a move.
He does. There's contact there between Webber and Manassian, but the Frenchman diving it up towards the inside of turn 3 and makes that move finally on Mark Webber. Manassian now up into 5th place, and this would be 9 points on the board for Dams Lola Panels. It would be a great day for them if they can hold on to these places. Of course, they've only scored 14 points so far this season. Not due to a lack of pace or lack of trying, but it's mainly down to a lack of reliability that's cost him so many points in this season so far. Obviously, still half the race to go, but it's looking strong for both Furman and Manassian for once.
Would get them pretty close to the battle of BAR and Williams. As now that's probably Mark Webber going into the pits soon.
Opel.
On 6 on the road currently, as I think also the call for Opel came through. So that's Pedro de la Rosa probably for his second stop. Meantime, actually, Mark Jenne has closed the gap on Scott Dixon.
He has indeed. He's on the back now of the New Zealander and will try and find any way through on the BAR. Obviously, an 11.1 second stop it was for Scott Dixon a couple of laps ago. Could indicate that he's on a one-stop strategy, and as such, he needs to get through.
Problem.
Oh, and there's a crash in the pit lane. There's a crash in the pit lane. I don't know if that involves Mark Webber as well, but Pedro de la Rosa out of the race without a front wing in the pits. And a massive shame for him, as he was looking on course for potentially scoring points in this Grand Prix. Not anymore, and he is out.
What happened there?
I'm trying to wait until no one's coming into the pits.
That's Alonso now. Feel like maybe Mark Webber and De La Rosa, actually Mark Webber may be released into the path of De La Rosa. Oh no, they are sharing the same pit. Mark Webber is lucky that he didn't lose his rear wing from that.
Why are they sharing the same pit? They're on the same lap. That shouldn't happen. Strange. Anyway, De La Rosa now the 6th retirement in this race. And as such, the only remaining Opel in this race, Timo Glock, is in 10th place, 2 places away from the points. Has not yet scored a point in his Formula 1 career.
That's Felipe Massa getting the home call. But Alonso into the pits for probably his only pit stop. He's 36 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli, so he surely will re-emerge into the lead of this race.
Manassian follows him in as well a lap further back. And a 9.3 second stop, a fairly fast stop there for a one-stop strategy, is going to allow Fernando Alonso to comfortably take the lead of this Grand Prix. Massa also into the box. This could elevate Marc Genet as high as 5th place here on the pit exit. There's Manassian coming down the main straight, and there is Marc Genet up into 5th position.
Crucially though, Manassian is back in front of Scott Dixon. So somewhere Marc Genet has also gotten past Scott Dixon.
Hello Alexa, welcome in. You have joined us at the halfway stage of this Hungarian Grand Prix, where we've got quite a mixed up order due to the fact that half the grid started on intermediates and half on dries. Those on intermediates had to box fairly early on, and as such got held up in traffic. So drivers such as Barrichello, Raikkonen, Montoya, Coulthard all outside the top 10, and it's leading to drivers such as Marc Genet, Nicolas Manassian and Scott Dixon, Mark Webber, Felipe Massa, Timo Glock, all in the top 10 as well. So, yeah, massively shaken up grid as Jarno Trulli is getting desperately held up here by Scott Dixon. Contact indeed, as they now head into the final sector, and it's allowing Schumacher to claw the gap back in as he now makes that move to get ahead of Scott Dixon and lap him.
Dixon's defending.
Probably not used to being lapped and thinks that the IndyCar rules
come over to the F1 rules where you don't have to let somebody pass with wave blue flags.
But now we'll let through Michael Schumacher down the main straight to start lap 38, and Schumacher is now about 3 seconds behind Jarno Trulli.
as we expect.
Genet's got the move done there on Marc Genet for P5 in towards turn 3. And Nicolas Manassing once again re-establishes himself in the top 5.
As we probably expect Raikkonen and Barrichello to stop soon. They are on their stint since, I feel like, around lap 6 of this race.
I think Raikkonen also got past Rubens Barrichello in the intervening laps while stuck behind Timo Glock.
Not a pleasant side to be behind in terms of trying to get past. I feel like they also got lapped by Ralph Furman. Maybe that's actually the reason why Raikkonen got past. Now the gap between Trulli and Michael is around 2.7 seconds. That's the call for Cristiano D'Amata, being the sole remaining Jaguar in this one.
Yeah, it's looking fairly comfortable now for Fernando Alonso. He's unlikely to stop for the rest of this Grand Prix, and with Trulli and Schumacher still needing to make another stop in this race, it's looking like a pretty good route here for Fernando Alonso. Still, Jarno Trulli, Michael Schumacher, and Fernando Alonso have all retired several times this season from high positions, so you never know. In the world of Formula 1, there's still over 30 laps to go in this one, and it promises to bring some good racing action still, as Marc Genet holding with Nicolas Manassian still for P5. There goes Felipe Massa. Felipe Massa once again having a half spin over the curbs. He's found a new curb to try and spin over now, as Scott Dixon holds his ground. 11.1 seconds really doesn't like.
The Red Bull really doesn't like any sudden turn-ins, as it seems. Pretty sensitive on that. Maybe the team has to look into that, as Massa does what he always does: spin over curbs.
Yeah, and as it currently stands, as Sampas says, Alonso would be taking the championship lead by 4 points ahead of Kimi Raikkonen.
Dixon has a problem. Dixon's off.
That is Dixon off. Don't mind the lack of collision on the tyre wall, but Scott Dixon is off and out of this race down at the final corner. And unfortunately for him, points will have to wait another day. Dixon out of this Grand Prix.
Raikkonen also got past Glock now in that instance. So somebody bested their Opel straight line speed.
See what happened here then for Scott Dixon. A brake failure through the last corner, and a promising race comes to a halt here on the end of lap 39 for Scott Dixon. Massive shame for him.
A brake failure.
As Pitsonia now into the box for what will be his only stop in this Grand Prix. Like you said, Raikkonen has gotten past Timo Glock. So Glock now demoted down to 10th, and Raikkonen can go and push on, possibly try and score points. Points actually just a second up the road, as I think Glock was actually pulling up to the back of Mark Webber in the past couple of laps.
I feel like though Raikkonen and Barrichello still have to stop again. They are on their stint since around lap 6, lap 7. So they probably have to stop pretty soon for some fresh tires and some fuel. Raikkonen really closing in on the Australian in front of him. Maybe could look for a move already.
The inside. Does not have the inside as Ralf Schumacher now gets past Rubens Barrichello. Barrichello really dropping back at the moment. Really not up to the pace. Ferrari maybe have to look at a replacement for the Brazilian soon. Because the Brazilian is clearly struggling in the current stage of the season.
That would in turn cost the team quite a lot, though, as he is contracted to the team until the end of 2005. It's quite an interesting development that's happening down at Ferrari, especially since, well, Barrichello was signed as the second driver, but even as a second driver has been really struggling to perform to a consistent level, help his teammate out in the championship, and Ferrari out in the constructors. As two seasons at, or two fairly poor seasons at Jaguar and two fairly poor seasons at Renault could have possibly been an indication to how poor Rubens Barrichello's Ferrari stint could have been. And Raikkonen is now up into the points. Mark Webber has just been overtaken by him, and now he can go and march on to Massa, who is 5 seconds further up the road.
Webber under huge pressure there from Timo Glock, as Heifeld now has a suspension failure as well. Somewhere parked. Oh, that's a really pretty dangerous spot to park your car. Heifeld is now the 8th retirement of this race.
Yes. Okay, I've finished eating my Skittles now. Oh, I did not check if anyone was going into the pits. Please!
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
There we go, on the exit of turn 1. I think it's the rear
right.
Rear right. Yep, it's gone. And Heidfeld out of the race. Pitsonia. Only Brabham left in 17th. Glock has gotten past Mark Webber. Timo Glock has moved up into 9th position in this race. The Australian really struggling with his pace. So maybe Glock had some good pace. That's why he was holding people up. Genet is supposedly going to be stopping fairly shortly, as is Ralf Schumacher. And there's the confirmation then. Genet into the box at the end of this lap.
As the Honda slowly has made up his way into the, well, close to the top 10s. Probably down to the lighter fuel load and drivers in front of him retiring, as Sonta is now 3 laps down. While the rest of the field is 1 lap down, so Boots and Energy really struggling around the Hungaroring.
Maybe just trying to get some race finishes on the board more than anything, try and preserve the car.
Yeah.
As they don't think they can necessarily beat anyone on pace. And especially with that poor strategy that they had at the start of the Grand Prix, means that they were essentially taking out the running right at the start. So,
10 seconds
Genet,
stop is pretty long.
and he does rejoin down in 8th position. So Raikkonen up to 7th. This means that the gap at the top reduces down to 2 points, as Raikkonen is now up in the points positions in 7th place specifically.
As Alonso is once again stuck in traffic, the gap has come down to 8.2. Well, actually was stuck with Ricardo Sonta, that is. Who's still looking for a move down the inside of the Spaniard.
As I think Alonso's actually just spun off, because the gap is now 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think
There
something
must have been a mistake.
happened. I'll just make sure. I'm pretty sure
Maybe
I heard
on
someone
the-
come
maybe-
into the pit, so I'll just...
Maybe
okay,
spun on the back of the Bootsen, perchance?
We'll check now.
Was ahead already? No, actually, it was another car. Oh, it's Pitsonia.
And I've got to say,
Over
now,
optimistic.
that is Fernando Alonso's fault through and through, that one. And maybe the pressure's getting to him a little bit. Maybe his complacency is getting to him a little bit, as he knows he doesn't need to make another stop. But of course, if he damages the car, then he is going to need to make another stop. And then this race is blown wide open, as Trulli and Schumacher will be there to reap the rewards.
As I think, yeah, Ralf Schumacher now into the pits. No, actually has been overtaken by Rubens Barrichello, so Rubens maybe finding some pace again. But into the pits goes the 2003 world champion as Rubens Barrichello. Now with another move. What does this pace all of a sudden come from? But the Lamborghini proving more fruitful on the straight. Doesn't... Actually, Alonso with a mistake.
Alonso's off in the wall! Right after we're talking about making a mistake, Alonso's off in the wall without a front wing!
That
Unbelievable scenes!
Ralph Fallon into the podium.
What on earth has just happened there with the Renault driver? A golden opportunity to take victory. We're talking about how he did not need to make another pit stop.
Did he encounter Pitsonia again?
No way.
He did.
I think he's just made the mistake on his own, to be completely honest. He has, over the curb!
Over the curb! And then just tries to get back on the circuit, quite idiotically, but that blows the championship lead away from him, pretty much.
And this gives
third as well.
Yeah, this gives Raikkonen an absolute lifeline and a half here, as Fernando Alonso will need to box once more. And if this is a long stop for Alonso, that could present a potential podium opportunity for this man right here, Ralph Furman.
Ralph Furman definitely will get into the podium position for the time being, but the bigger question is if Ralph Furman has enough fuel to the end. If he does, he has a pretty good shot at getting his first F1 podium, and the crazy part is he's not signed on with Dams Loader. That's Nicolas Minassian, who has been struggling compared to him.
So Furman goes through up into third position, and Alonso will have a 9.1 second stop. Glock will be into the pits
as well
behind him, and there goes Marc Genet, who is a lap down. There goes Barrichello as well, so Alonso down in fourth.
That's not helpful as well, because those are two fast cars.
Yellow flags. Oh, and Furman's off!
Oh, no!
Ralph Furman's off! Right as we were talking, as a potential brilliant result for Dams Lola and Ralph Furman. He's off, down at turn 3, I think that is, and Ralph Furman is now out the race. And devastation for all the Dams Lola fans out there. Brake failure for the Irishman from third position. And Furman becomes the 9th retirement of the Hungarian Grand Prix.
That elevates Rubens Barrichello back into the points.
And once again, another lifeline for Kimi Raikkonen, as he will now move up into 6th position. He's on the back of Massa, so he could move up to 5th. So this race has very quickly opened up for Kimi Raikkonen in terms of...
But I'm pretty certain he has to stop again. He's not filled up to the end, so who knows?
He has got pretty good pace, though. That's the one thing that he's got. He's got pretty good pace in this second stage of the race. Yeah,
well,
Ralph
is up into 4th after his teammate retired. Still good points on cards for Dams Lola, but what could have been a potential first podium position for the team.
Yeah, you can't spell Ralph Furman without RIP. And he is unfortunately out of this race. Our attention now changes to Kimi Raikkonen, who is trying to get past Felipe Massa. Rubens Barrichello looking towards the inside of Marc Genet, the Williams, trying to fend off the Ferrari.
Looks for a move as well.
And where has Coulthard come from in this?
Yeah.
I think since Glock and Pitsonia have stopped being the shoe wedge in this train, it's become a bit of a easy sailing towards the higher positions for a lot of the front runners here. As Raikkonen, Barrichello and Coulthard, who were all previously outside the top 15, are now all in the points.
Benny, stop being delusional.
Raikkonen looking towards the inside there.
Furman had a brake failure into turn 3.
Yep, so Alonso just crashed, lost his front wing. Furman moved up to 3rd. 2 corners later, brake failure, out the race. There is a battle and a half brewing there for 10th position. Montoya up the inside of Mark Webber. Fisichella's also getting involved. He's looking towards the inside of the Colombian through the penultimate corner. Can the Italian make it through, or will Juan Pablo Montoya retaliate through the last corner?
Actually.
No. So Fisichella now up into 11th place. Can he find a way through now on Mark Webber? These two cars similarly fast in a straight line. So maybe Fisichella's got a better chance than what Montoya had on the Red Bull. And makes easy work there of the Australian. 10th place now for Giancarlo Fisichella.
Fisichella might be in for a shot at a potential points paying position, because I still feel like Raikkonen to Coulthard have to stop again. Seeing as they also, I feel like all three started on the intermediate tires. It's Raikkonen putting more pressure on Felipe Massa. That's probably once that 5th position, which would in turn see him still probably be in the lead of the championship.
Yeah, with Alonso down in 3rd place now and looking likely that he will finish in that position, it's only going to be potentially 4 points gained in the drivers. No, not even that. 2 points gained in the championship over Kimi Raikkonen if the Finn can get past Felipe Massa and finish it up in 5th.
Oh. Getting closer and closer, but not close enough for a potential move into turn 1. As Raikkonen tries to move further up the field. Montoya, in the meantime, tries to finally make the move on Mark Webber. Like Webber might be under threat through turn 1 on this one, as Ralf Schumacher now gets past Cristiano D'Amata. Montoya muscles his way through into P11.
The Colombian then on the charge towards a potential points finish, even with his damaged rear wing. Still could finish ahead of his teammate, even with the horrible strategy that he's been on. And if you have enjoyed this stream, make sure to give it a like, make sure to subscribe. I want to hit 1,250 subscribers before my birthday on June the 8th. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out with that if you haven't already, be sure to do so, as Raikkonen on the back of Felipe Massa once again can't find a way through.
On the topic, Darby saw, I don't think Alonso needs to stop again, because he stopped for a new front wing, which took him 9.1 seconds, so he's definitely fueled up till the end of this one. Fisichella now tries a move there on Marc Gené. Marc Gené currently losing a lot of time on his heavy fuel load compared to teams that have stopped earlier than him. As Raikkonen, Barrichello, Coulthard are all on their tires for 44 laps, so they definitely have to stop again.
Yeah, Montoya, another driver in that, and is also now a driver that has emerged in this battle for 9th position. Fisichella, though, up the inside of Marc Gené, side by side and ahead out of the exit of turn 1, and will move up into 9th position.
And Montoya gets slapped by his teammate. Fisichella, I feel like, might be for a shout at 2 points in this one.
Yeah, Barrichello and Coulthard, are not really pulling away all too much from Fisichella behind. And if they do, well, they almost do have to certainly stop it. It's a question of if Fisichella needs to stop, then it could be his day today to once again score points, after he previously scored his first points last time out in Austria. So, current racing order with 20 laps to go. Jarno Trulli leads by 4.5 seconds. Fernando Alonso, the only other driver currently on the lead lap after he crashed from the race lead, looking like he was going to go to the end of the race with a fairly comfortable lead, and as he's ended up throwing it away completely with a simple mistake, spinning over the curbs in the middle sector on the slow speed chicane, and is now down in 3rd. Nicolas Manassian in 4th after his teammate retired with a brake failure a couple of laps ago. Massa up in 5th place. He's looking on course for potentially his best ever finish in Formula 1. Kimi Raikkonen is 6th with Barrichello and Coulthard completing the points. Fisichella 9th and Montoya in 10th. Gené then next in 11th with Webber, Glock, Ralf Schumacher, D'Amata, Pitsonia and Zonta completing the the running
Yes.
order. 9 retirements
Truly.
to talk about, with Furman, Heidfeld, Dixon, De La Rosa, Sato, Wilson, Sperafico, Button, and Pantano, and Nils.
Trulli is pitting pretty soon. He's running out of fuel. So the third stop for the Ferrari driver comes up pretty soon. Will be interesting to see if Michael can go longer, but keep in mind Michael Schumacher has a 5-second time penalty, so would need to find a lot of a gap compared to the Ferrari.
I would like to clarify that Nils is not one of the retirements. As I said, and Nils at the end. I want to clarify, Nils is not in this race and is not retired from this Grand Prix.
As Fisichella is pitting soon, so his potential chance at points pretty much gone with that. It'll be interesting to see when Raikkonen goes back into the pits, as Trulli now stops at the end of this one.
Into the
Michael
pits
is
then
being
for
held
the
up.
race leader. He is indeed, or he was held up, but
Oh,
that's
he was.
allowed Jarno Trulli to pull out a bit of a gap to Schumacher behind. But for once, Schumacher is going to be able to get a bit of an overcut done on the Italian, and if he gets held up by number
That's a long
18
stop.
car, I don't know what number 18 car is on this. Is that Manassian? Yeah.
Oh, Manassian, yeah.
If he gets held up by Manassing, which he won't end up doing, then Schumacher
Really?
is going to be a bit... well, he's going to have one arm tied behind his back to make up enough of a gap to create an overcut opportunity on Jarno Trulli.
Trulli has to navigate the traffic again that he passed before the pit stop. So that might be a chance for Michael to make up this lost time, as Massa is now being held up there by Ricardo Zonta. Raikkonen now in turn is getting held up.
I've got to say, yeah,
Fisichella
of the drivers that are currently still in this race, Furman probably would have been in my race for driver of the day, probably alongside Scott Dixon,
Definitely.
but currently Felipe Massa on a brilliant charge to his best finish in Formula 1 in the Red Bull, as Raikkonen is scheduled to box shortly. So if Massa is likely
Massa's
to
also
stop...
pitting.
Okay, so this could be Red Bull versus McLaren then in this pit stop battle. Barrichello needs to pit, Coulthard definitely needs to pit. It's just a question of, if Fisichella doesn't need to pit, then he could be as
has
high
to.
as 5th
He's
place.
pitting this one. Well, he's
Okay.
pitting this one as well. He got the call as well.
So Kimi Raikkonen into the
So-
pits at the end of this lap.
Manassian also pitting. Getting pretty feisty in the pits again. There's the call for... Oh, actually, Raikkonen is pitting one lap earlier than Massa, so maybe an undercut from McLaren compared to the Red Bull team. Depending on how long that stop is, it could actually elevate the McLaren in front of Felipe Massa.
So
It's not
Fisichella
Fisichella
also
headed
into the
pits.
box. So this is a golden opportunity for Felipe Massa to potentially score 5th place in this race. But this has to concern now
a long one.
Raikkonen, that he is somehow faster than the Red Bull on a heavy fuel load, which I don't see happening, but if he pushes hard enough, there could be a chance, especially if Felipe Massa makes a mistake. I've also just forgotten, Felipe Massa has a 5-second time penalty, doesn't he? So
Oh yeah,
that's also one thing to consider as well. Schumacher and Fisichella have also got penalties in this race. Raikkonen has re-emerged just outside the points in 9th, as Fisichella is 3 places further back.
Michael is pushing hard currently to make maybe the gap in front of Jarno Trulli. As Ferrari is ready in the pits, that is Barrichello into the pit box then as well. The Mata service in 8.2, Manassian in 8.5. As Massa's being held up there a bit, so could have maybe lost a lot of time there.
And it's a battle of the Brazilians then in the pit lane. Massa for Red Bull versus Barrichello for Ferrari. This is all of this is actually going to push Montoya further up the order, who in turn also needs to
That's-
stop in this race. So
Michael is pitting at the end of this one, so he could, in theory, also get close to Fernando Alonso. Barrichello drops behind Raikkonen, but Raikkonen is not close enough on Massa. Massa keeps the position, but has to extend 5 seconds over the Finnish driver. There goes Michael. As Trulli is being held up massively there by Timo Glock, so it could get close. Oh, never mind. 17.6. 7.4. That's a good stop, though, by McLaren.
This could be closer than we thought.
That could be.
There goes Trulli now. So Michael Schumacher's going to
Michael is being held up, though.
Yeah, Schumacher's going to come out behind Glock and Schumacher there. And as such, Schumacher will re-emerge in second place with 2 lap cars to navigate and a 5-second time penalty on top of all that. Means that it should be a Jarno Trulli victory, hopefully for him, which of course would fetch him up to 45 points. Kimi Raikkonen, as it currently stands, will be on 51. Alonso on
50.
Is it also 51?
So 1 point between. No,
No,
he will
50.
be on 50.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
1 point between those two. As Michael will climb up to
42.
43.
No, 43.
43.
Me when I've not got the championship in front of me. Hello, David Benson. Welcome in. I'm doing okay, my friend. I hope your week has gone well for yourself. We are 15 laps away from the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Fisichella's just got past Mark Webber. Race started in slippery conditions. Half the grid started on intermediates, half the grid on dries, but the intermediates proved to not be the better tyre. As such, a lot of the drivers pit early on the intermediates, so drivers such as Raikkonen and Barrichello, Montoya as well, also boxed fairly early on and had to make their way through the order. Coulthard and Montoya are still yet to pit, although Massa could be potentially on course for a solid points finish if he can pull out his 5-second time penalty ahead of Raikkonen for making a collision with his teammate Mark Webber earlier on in the race. Coulthard into the box.
Got a promotion at work this week. At the end of this one.
Nice. Shout out to David Benson for his job promotion, as now Barrichello will get ahead of David Coulthard on pit exit. The Scotsman now re-emerging down in 9th place, and if he can catch up to the back of Felipe Massa, which he should be able to in a BAR, there could be a chance at some points for the Scotsman
gets
still.
Finally passed.
And once again, Kimi Raikkonen up into the 6th position, as Nils just said, and will try and push ahead to try and pull out a gap ahead of Barrichello before he eventually...
Alonso's out! Alonso's out with a suspension failure! Minassian into the podium positions, therefore.
And not only was it a shocking race from Fernando Alonso, he crashed from the race lead with an easy win in the bag. The Renault has also failed on him, potentially caused by his earlier crash, and Alonso becomes the 10th retirement of the Hungarian Grand Prix. As Nils just said, Minassian, albeit nearly a lap down, is going to be on the podium.
So not only that, but Montoya is pitting, so Raikkonen is up into 4th with that one.
And will actually extend his championship lead after all this.
Definitely. And
wow.
His trend of never finishing outside the top 5, if he finishes this race, will continue, as Coulthard is now into the points as well. And yeah, so this championship fight is really just a battle of who has the best, or has the car that survives the race distance at this end.
Most definitely. As Auto Expert just talked about Genet's pace dropping, there goes Marc Genet losing another place, this time to the Toyota of Giancarlo Fisichella. So Genet now down to 11th place in this race. How we were expecting him to be up in the top 5, I don't know. It was an eventuality that Pitsonia and Glock were going to stop holding up the rest of the field, as now Manassian makes his way down the main straight to getting himself up into 3rd position. So,
Carlos on next up into the pits. As in the background, Barrichello is looking for a move on his compatriot Felipe Massa, but no can do.
Doesn't really
Michael,
need to make this move, Rubens Barrichello, as...
I mean, he needs to. If Coulthard is getting close, he might make the move on the Brazilian himself, so either get past quickly.
There is also the part of Raikkonen still could be within arm's reach of Rubens Barrichello if he makes it through on Felipe Massa, and he's going to try for it up the inside, braking later than his fellow countryman. Can't make his way through though.
But in the meantime, Michael is also slowly reeling in Jarno Trulli. Keep in mind, he is penalized with a 5-second time penalty, but maybe if the German can get past, can get the gap that he needs over the Italian. As in the meantime, now everybody gets past Alonso, who has been a lap down. Also, if maybe those right here crash or make a mistake, this could allow Giancarlo Fisichella to get one solitary point for Toyota in their quest to somehow stay with the top 5 in the championship.
Yeah, it's looking more and more difficult with the improvements that Williams have been fetching. Juan Pablo Montoya has certainly upped his game, becoming the team leader after Alexander Wirtz's injury back in France, and with the potential of a different driver swapping in for Marc Genet could prove to be one too much as Michael Schumacher's out! What? Huh? Schumacher?
They're dropping like flies!
I'm lost for words. Michael Schumacher's just retired from second place.
Is this a repeat of Estoril 2001 where Minassian sneaked into the victory, essentially?
There's still 11 laps to go, Nils, but Minassian is now promoted up to second. Trulli now leads by a whole lap.
Down into, I think, turn 6, he gets this brake failure, never mind, still going.
Into the chicane? Yeah, into the chicane there.
Yeah.
For Michael Schumacher, and once again another retirement. Another brake failure. And Schumacher is out. A potential to get himself back into championship contention, and it all falls away from him once again.
Normally the brakes around here aren't that stressed compared to other tracks because we don't have that much of a high speed aspect, but clearly the teams having not set up their brake system properly, and that's now quite evident with, I feel like, 6 retirements down to brake failures. So
and of course, if you want to see actually, let me get back to you on that. There's a battle currently for 5th place between Massa Barrichello and David Coulthard and Juan Pablo Montoya. So 5th through 8 currently battling for those positions.
also, yeah, this means essentially that Michael will get another grid penalty for next time round as Coulthard goes down the inside there on Rubens Barrichello because Barrichello not able to get past Felipe Massa once again. So, as I said, Coulthard gets more feisty behind Barrichello, Barrichello being unable to make any sort of inroads on a potential overtake on Felipe Massa. Now, on the inside maybe, Barrichello once again has a look, but goes wide, allows Coulthard to have a run on the Ferrari, maybe down the inside into turn 2. And the Scot, the 2000 champion, gets past Rubens Barrichello for essentially 5th on the road. Now Minassian is finally up into 2nd with 10 laps to go in this one.
So David Coulthard on the verge of scoring a top 5 finish, which would be, well, a pretty solid result for David Coulthard. more often than not, he has finished around that 5th to 6th place region. And if you guys want to find out the full results at the end of this Grand Prix and the championship standings and anything further than that, any information about the news going into the next round, which is the Belgian Grand Prix, be sure to join the Discord, which has just been linked in the chat, as well as in the description down below.
As in the meantime, those 4 have caught up to Antonio Pizzonia once again, who gets past easily. Gets maybe an advantage to compared to the other drivers.
Sam Pass has just said a sobering statistic that that's Felipe Massa spun round and through goes Barrichello up into 4th place. So Barrichello's now up into 4th. David Coulthard had a golden opportunity there, but now Massa has just spun round, I think, on the back of his compatriot Antonio Pizzonia. I was about to say a sobering statistic of Coulthard now moving ahead of Michael Schumacher as it currently stands. But let's see what's just happened there with the Red Bull.
I feel like Massa tried to move similar to Alonso on Pizzonia, trying to make it quite quickly. No, he dropped it on the curb again.
So once again a mistake there for Felipe Massa. Is going to drop him down to 5th on the road, which is almost certainly now going to be 7th, possibly even 8th, as Giancarlo Fisichella may even start to reel in that gap all the more, realising that there is a chance that he could jump ahead of Felipe Massa here.
But once again, all aboard the Pizzonia train, even though he's lapped.
Barrichello might have some stern words for his fellow Brazilian driver if he doesn't stop being in the way.
He's
there goes
Massa! Massa now gets past again. But
is he going to spin on the inside of the curb? Not quite. Massa up to 4th on the road then.
And Pizzonia keeps his nose and tries to fight with Massa, but Massa pushes him off now. Has had enough of Pizzonia's antics. Now Barrichello needs to get past quickly in order to keep up with the Red Bull. As Coulthard gets past and Montoya also quite easily, so those 3 have not lost enough time. As the outroar in the crowds is getting louder and louder of Pizzonia's driving antics around here.
You know, Pizzonia just wanted to, reassert the regular order.
Dominance.
You know, Massa made a mistake and he wanted it to be back the way it was, and held up Barrichello to the point where Massa was let back through. So Massa back where he was before.
Re-establish the running order, so we get a clean fight essentially. This once again, Coulthard has to do it all again to get past those 2. Now Ricardo Sonta is 4 laps down. Ricardo has a look down the inside. When Trulli gearbox gone. Please not. Because that would be an interesting podium.
I'm just going to say, if it's now that Trulli's gearbox has been mentioned, a certain cheese platter is going to start coming out for a certain driver.
Barrichello nearly had a look down the inside, or had a look down the inside there. But no can do. The Lamborghini proving more fruitful on the straights compared to the Ferrari.
Massa still holding off the 3 of Barrichello, David Coulthard and Juan Pablo Montoya. Coulthard getting very close now to the back of Rubens Barrichello in turn. The Ferrari knows that he does not need to make this move at this point, really, as if he wants to keep this 4th place, as Raikkonen's just absolutely soaring into the distance. And that's going to be wide from Coulthard. Montoya's not going to be close enough to make him pay for that one. Barrichello once again going for a move. Can't make his way through. And now, Jarno Trulli is looking to potentially lap everyone up to 4th twice? Huh?
Potentially.
My word. This has been a fantastic race for Jarno Trulli. Alonso making the mistake, and then Michael Schumacher bearing down on him. Even with the penalty, Schumacher looks set to potentially take victory if he could get past and then pull away. But now, Trulli, with just over 5 laps to go, is looking on course for a dominant victory here by over a lap ahead of second place man, Nicolas Manassian.
Barrichello with a slight mistake there, but doesn't lose too much time compared to Felipe Massa. But there we see the top speed deficit that Barrichello has compared to Felipe Massa, 6 kilometers per hour. So that is quite a deficit to have, even on that short main straight that we have here.
Now David Coulthard looking towards the inside, can't find his way through as Barrichello fends him off for that place. Further back, we'll have a look at Ralf Schumacher's race. He was well down the order before, but granted, a lot of retirements have happened. He's up in the top half of the standings as of right now, but he's stuck behind Timo Glock for about the 6th time this race.
As Barrichello once again has a look, but danger is quite looming behind. Jarno Trulli is just down into turn 1 now. There he is, the Italian. So maybe Jarno Trulli might be the deciding factor in this in this battle for P4 essentially.
And another thing to think about, if Jarno Trulli's just lapped Giancarlo Fisichella, who is in 8th place right now, is just about 3 seconds behind this train. If Fisichella plays his cards right, he could get past each and every one of these guys.
Definitely.
If Trulli gets held up in such a way where, or rather, they let Trulli through in such a way that Fisichella ends up following them through, then it's definitely on for Fisichella to get more than what could be 7th place. He's 8th place on the road right now as there's Massa. And that could be the moment that Barrichello needed. Massa's going to be complaining over the radio, but Barrichello's going to make his way through up into 4th place and try and run away with this one now.
Kuva needs to get past quickly now.
As there is the race leader, Jarno Trulli, making his way down the main straight. He's on the back of Juan Pablo Montoya. So it's now or never for Rubens Barrichello.
As now Trulli is right on the back of him, gets past Montoya easily, and Fisichella, as you said, is right there to maybe take up the spoils.
Not close enough there to stop Montoya from getting this 7th place for now, but we have seen that the straight line speed advantage that the Toyota has over the Williams could present itself down the main straight if Fisichella can get close enough to the back of Juan Pablo Montoya.
It will be interesting to see if Barrichello now can open up a massive gap over Coulthard. Seeing as I feel like the Brazilian of Massa will definitely get under threat by the Scotsman as well. As now Trulli gets lapped by Coulthard, but a bit of a fight there by the VAR.
It's the other way around. Coulthard's getting lapped by Trulli.
Well, points this
and down the main straight, this could prove to be crucial for Montoya if he can get a run, and he has got a run down this main straight, down towards turn 1. Will he be able to outbrake David Coulthard up the inside? Coulthard on the outside, it's been bumped wide by the Colombian. A forceful move, but Montoya's up ahead of David Coulthard now. So, DC down to 7th, Montoya up to 6th, could be 5th. Well, it most certainly will be 5th if Massa... oh, what about David Coulthard? He's back there again. And Massa's been lapped. So it's as you were, apart from the fact that Barrichello's managed to run off into the distance. No thanks to his teammate at least. But Barrichello's up into 4th and might be able to stay ahead of his teammate for the rest of this Grand Prix.
I don't think so.
It's got quite a gap.
the pace deficit between Trulli and Barrichello is quite evident, though. So I feel like Trulli might get him on the final lap.
And of course, behind the Red Bull is obviously signifying the battle for fourth in the constructors, of course. Williams versus BAR versus Toyota. All three of these will be wanting to take points off of each other, with Montoya taking, a 2-point swing essentially on David Coulthard. Could prove crucial by the end of the season, as Williams currently hold their advantage to 5 ahead of both BAR and Toyota. 2 laps to go then for race leader Jarno Trulli here at the Hungaroring. I'm just embracing it at this point.
Montoya a bit wide there, same for Coulthard. But nothing of note for those two.
I've got to say, this has been a fantastic Hungarian Grand Prix. Once again, as it was in 2003.
And somebody else in the commentary channel said it would be a snooze fest, more over than Austria.
Nils got that wheel knowledge. And Massa now massively under pressure from Juan Pablo Montoya behind. If Montoya can get through on Massa without Coulthard following him, then this could be curtains for Coulthard potentially. Can't find his way through though, can the Colombian. So Montoya stays behind in 6th place for now.
But the BMW not paying or not being able to outdrag the Lamborghini on the straight will play dividend in this one.
But this is going to be the final proper chance here for Montoya to make a move. Can't make it. He stays behind, and that probably should be Massa 5th on the road. But he should fall down to 8th by the checkered flag if either one of these guys do not make a mistake. Raikkonen has done a brilliant job, though, of making his comeback up the field. He was well out of order in the early stages of this race towards the fringes of the top 20, but now he is up in the podium places, looking to extend his championship lead, still without winning a single race. There's 7 races to go, and 11 races in, and he is what, going to be 8 points in the lead of the championship without winning a race?
Should be, yeah.
Crazy scenes. As now Jarno Trulli is going to make his way through the final couple of corners, and it's been a statement of intent with Alonso bottling and Michael Schumacher retiring. He's going to round the final corner for the final time to take a dominant victory here at the Hungaroring. He wins the 2000. Oh my god! I've got to line with the suspension failure! Surely wins, but only just. There is the finish line.
God!
Oh my days! Coulthard just crashed into him. Oh my god, that's a huge incident there, involving both Coulthard.
Oh god!
Oh dear me. Not what you want to see at all. Manassian should be able to take second, but my word, that was a big crash. There could be a potential injury there. We'll get a look at that one, actually. So, Jarno Trulli had his suspension failure across the line.
And I thought I was tripping that he was slowing down through the final corner.
I did as well. It looked very slow. So out the final corner, there goes the suspension, and he just rolls it across the line.
One lap earlier, and Manassian would have taken his second career victory.
And then David Coulthard across the line, obviously unsighted. Oh, huge crash.
Correct. That's a crunch front nose cone as well. And not a nice hit for Trulli as well.
Yep.
Being stationary.
There'll definitely be wave yellows down there in the first sector, but Manassian will make his way round the final corner, and it is a first podium of the season for Dams Lola Panos. Manassian out of absolutely nowhere, second place. Absolutely insane. Raikkonen, from the depths of absolute hell behind Antonio Pizzonia, will score a podium and extend his championship lead in third position. Barrichello will get fourth. Massa will fall down to 8th by the checkered flag, as Montoya, Coulthard and Fisichella will be promoted to 5th, 6th and 7th respectively. So Massa down to 8th. Marc Genet will just miss out in 9th, with Webber in 10th, Glock 11th, Ralf Schumacher 12th, with D'Amata, Pizzonia and Zonta completing the top 15. That has been an absolutely insane Hungarian Grand Prix. If you enjoyed that one, because I most certainly did, I'm sure that Nils did as well, be sure to like and subscribe.
Jesus
Wow,
Christ.
absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like that. Never.
Absolute barbecue sauce.
Absolute barbecue sauce indeed. I've got absolutely no words to say about that. If you want to find out more about what on earth just happened at the end of that Grand Prix, be sure to check out the Discord as well. But yeah, anything to say, Nils?
Lost for words with that finish at the end. So, will be interesting to see on how both drivers fare after that hefty incident.
Well,
Still,
thank
the cars
you.
are left on the straight.
Well, thank you for everyone who has joined. Brilliant. Amazing. Amazing stuff. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. That has been an absolutely crazy Hungarian Grand Prix. And I just want to say, absolute barbecue sauce. Okay, that's going to be all from us today. And the next stream, I'm not exactly sure, but be sure to check the YouTube posts, as the schedule normally goes out on there. It'll be sometime early next week. See you later, guys.